Hey there, listeners. Your appointment to FEMA should be finalized within the week. And by FEMA, I mean your appointment to thanking our patrons who brought us this episode. Patrons like Sam Levy and Carl Eric Matson and Bajaheni and Pete Vincent and Frank Ferreira. Those patrons, if you'd like to join them, you go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and tell them Bob Page sent you. My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are talking about Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which is an immersive sim developed by Eidos Montreal and published by Square Enix for the PC, PS4, and Xbox One in 2016.
My mankind? Divided in this economy? It has been divided.
It has. Yeah. Og or natural, baby.
Yeah, big naturals or big ogs. Here it comes. And thus we complete another franchise.
I mean, we have not talked about Deus Ex The Fall, Gary.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't play The Fall. And I tried. I tried playing it on phone and I tried playing it the PC port and I literally could not play The Fall.
You call yourself a fan.
I know, it's that bad. It's literally that bad. It's like how I've never beat the Fallout Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance clone.
Oh yeah.
It's just that bad. It's really horrible. It's as bad as everyone says. So this game is a sequel. This is the second part of a trilogy that will never finish. It picks up 2 years after the events of Human Revolution, which we covered way back in the day. You continue as Adam Jensen, continuing a story. The world has changed after the climax of that game, the catastrophic Og incident.
Which everybody just calls the incident, and it is very easy to forget that is a proper noun.
There's only one incident that happened in the history of that game. Yeah. It's nice to play a game where 9/11 didn't happen.
I know. Well, I mean, the original Deus Ex and that texture wrapping thing, right?
No, I know.
Or was that Metal Gear? Yeah.
No, that's Deus Ex. It's both. Okay. I think both games were altered.
Oh yeah,
for that. But yeah, Deus Ex in the beginning there.
But that incident, the climax there, the humanity front, these pro-human, pro-big natural extremists, they issued this signal that drove every augmented person into a homicidal rage. Which caused a whole bunch of suspicion, caused a bunch of gasoline to be thrown onto a fire that was already burning, which is, how do augmented people stand up in a world where there are folks who, can have parts of them replaced, even though it is mostly like PMCs and disabled people who end up getting these.
It's interesting because you're either a super soldier or you want to walk. And there's not very many points in between, you know? And it's worth getting this out front just because this was a big thing the game was about. I'm sure you have a note about this later. You have to, I find, I really enjoyed this. This is my second time playing through this game. That it really benefits from set expectations. That's something that I've been thinking about a lot in games as I've been doing some replaying. You have to, for this to work, you have to buy into this conflict as important and fine.
Yeah.
And if you do, it's okay. But it sucks if you read more into it.
Yes.
It is not a good metaphor.
Nope.
For anything because of that, what you mentioned. Like it's good because it ranges from like I can kill everyone in the city with a push of a button to like a slightly better prosthetic leg. The metaphor falls down completely on its face. This is not good for race or sexuality or nationality or anything,
or even like this guns. It's like the shit would be regulated.
It's slightly better for guns. Like that's a closer metaphor, but it's not a good metaphor.
No,
you're not issued a gun because you lost your leg.
Nope. Except in Planet Terror, that film by Robert Rodriguez.
It's like send food, not bullets.
There's no good anti-AUG case made. Whereas I think better cyberpunk or better sci-fi would kind of make it worth arguing.
It's not worth arguing.
No.
And then you run into this with like a lot of flimsy metaphors for stuff like this. Like this is a big problem with the Superhero Registration Act stories and comics. You have to accept this on its face. It's part of the price of admission. If you do, I think this does, like, I think that the story of this game is not as bad as it's portrayed.
Because it gets smaller. Yeah,
it's smaller. Like you can take some joy in a surface read of this if you're capable. But you have to be okay with it just being like, the premise of this is that people are prejudiced against people with AUGs. It's not a metaphor. Do not think deeply about this. And everything in the game and the marketing tried to make you think deeply about it, and you have to resist all that shit.
That was a mistake.
Put up your Gallagher shield and let that shit bounce off you.
Do not take extra steps beyond where this is, because there is not road laid bare.
Yes. Yeah. If you can do that, it's pretty cool. This is and so I'm going to say something here, because the reason why I brought this up now is because of the next note here, which is like this push to segregate and oppress augmented people and kind of eliminate and alienate them. I think this game does a good job of portraying that. Not in any way that attaches to the real world. I'm not saying like this makes me feel like I'm a Rwandan refugee. Like, it doesn't make me feel like shit in real life. I don't understand anything better.
Right.
Due to Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
Right.
It's not about understanding.
Yeah, you end up going to like a Kowloon walled city where all of them are sent. Yeah, like there are pogroms, like, and down to the if you leave a subway station through the wrong line, like that just penny ante.
You get microaggressed.
And they say, hey, wrong line, AUG, stuff like that. Like, again, no idea how that actually feels in real life, but they commit to at least making that kind of the central, the primary color of paint that is put over this entire world.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think on a very surface level that it's pretty successful at that. Like, I like how it explores this thing that does not map onto the real world and ultimately has little value. Like the value is in the exploration, not in what it explores.
Right.
And that's real faint praise. Like I recognize that, but I want to set that stake in the ground, because I really like that you go through the wrong line. Like once I realized like, oh, it's just easier for me to go through the shit line to not have to go through this loading screen tax and have somebody stop me. It did feel like, oh, I'm minorly inconveniencing myself because of this environment.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing to make me feel, even if once you attempt to map that on and be like, well, now I understand what it's like to be black.
Right.
That's bullshit. And I would never say that. Like it doesn't, if I were a person who actually dealt with this stuff, I could see it feeling pretty bad. This game playing fast and loose with live ammo.
Yes.
That way.
Yeah.
But I think, again, surface read, not so bad. We've talked about the episode we did Human Revolution and was 257. So there are a lot of things that recur from that. This is an improvement, not a revolution, ironically enough. And so we're not going to spend too much time on things that the first game did.
Yes. Broadly, this is an immersive sim. It dresses up like a first-person shooter. Looks like that in screenshots, but in reality, there is a ton of emphasis on exploration, stealth, and role-playing in a detailed, consistent world that honors multiple different ways to solve problems.
Yes. And mechanically, this is a big improvement. Everything feels better. So the shooting is better. One of my favorite things that Deus Ex Human Revolution did, I wish more games would take, is that's first person until you get into cover.
Yeah.
that is really, really canny and feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's cover shooting in first person sucks. This just solves it by not making you do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the stealth system is a lot more reliable. You have more information. You can do these little quick dashes between spots. There are a lot of little innovations there that make this just feel like a mechanically more sound game than Human Revolution, which already felt pretty good, I think.
Yeah. I mean, just the stealth system and moving from cover to cover, like there were elements of that there in Human Revolution, but I went back and watched gameplay videos just to refresh myself because I didn't want to say, oh, this stuff is new in this because it felt like such a big improvement. If you go back, like some of those moves are possible, like, okay, like press this button to move around the corner or like dash to the next piece of cover over there. Instead of showing you the line that you would run and the icon showing, hey, will you be in cover or not? Instead, it flashes up these hieroglyphics. It's like the street signs in Pee-wee's Big Adventure when he's driving in the dark. It's like, I don't know what any of these mean.
The way this does it to me is the ideal stealth, like cover-based stealth. If we're talking about Jurassic Park stealth, you know, which this ultimately is, this is my favorite version of that.
We should define Jurassic Park stealth because that we talked about that in
new vocab. Like, I would like to formally introduce it to the Duckfeed lexicon. If everyone who is listening to this has probably seen Jurassic Park, the scene where the kids are in the kitchen and they're ducking behind waist high walls for the raptors.
Yeah,
like Jurassic Park stealth is stealth based around waist high walls that you creep around.
Yeah. So like, oh, they're walking around the kitchen island. I'd better kind of just scuttle over to be on the opposite side of them so they don't catch me. Yeah, that's what that is.
Compared to like Don't Look Up stealth, which is Dishonored and the like.
Right.
And then like Wait stealth and Locker stealth. Like there are a lot of different kinds of stealth. I really like this version of it.
Yes.
I really like dashing from spot to spot. Your visual augment now has a thing that will show if you do get seen. You know, we talk a lot about stealth being fun when you get caught, that being a big marker. If you do get seen, you need to regroup. You get a little ghost version of yourself that shows where the enemy thinks you are. That's so useful.
Oh yeah.
Like, since I was ducking back into vents to snipe the people who saw me a lot of the time, knowing where they were going and having that visual reminder was awesome.
Yeah. This isn't the first game to do that, but it is it is incredibly valuable. And just overall, like, I try to play these games stealthy just because the shooting tends to not be very good. Also, shooting is incredibly resource intensive, you know? So you want to go
fragile too. Like,
yes,
you're not really meant to, like, you can play this, you can assault. You know, in this, there are encounters that I brute force my way through, but generally you're outnumbered.
Yes, there are, you know, choices you would have to make to be able to sustain, you know, going toe to toe with people in combat. Generally, compared to Human Revolution, it felt like I was much more capable at A, not getting caught, and B, kind of bouncing back and escaping detection if I was seen and somebody was coming around. That also is down to, like, I think more modular AI states. Like, it is pretty Metal Gear Solid in terms of, okay, they see you, they're suspicious. Now there's a search, and it your little radar shows you like how far they are through the search. Yeah. So
it's like Metal Gear Solid, except like they don't, unlimited guards just don't pour in from the guard dimension when you're caught. Like there's a finite number of dudes.
Yes.
In an area. The closer point of comparison that I had, like Human Revolution makes a lot of sense to compare this to, but we are doing it right after The Evil Within 2. A game which mechanically I really liked, but I do prefer the stealth in this because as opposed to having unthinking zombies that just walk towards you, it is more fun to perform stealth against things that can think and strategize and try to throw grenades to brush you out of cover or, you know, increase their alarm state, you know, things like that. And I think it's also just better. Like they both have a button to turn a corner while sticking to cover. I think the Human Revolution version of it feels better.
Yes.
It's more consistent.
Agreed. Helping you out in this are, yes, your augmentations, but also they found a way to give you new augmentations. You have a street medic who opens you up and does maintenance on you, who finds out like, oh, there's stuff that's basically from Mars in here. What's the deal? So there's an experimental augmentation system where there are these next level augs that you can activate that have been put into your body without your knowledge. However, there is a trade-off, at least at first. If you activate them, You have to activate one of the experimental ones. You have to kind of like block off an existing regular mod to balance your power. If you don't, you're overclocked and you get like glitches and energy drain.
Yeah. And there are plenty of options. This is not a tough choice.
Right.
Like there were always things I was willing to sacrifice for this stuff. The new set of Augs, we'll talk about them when we get there. Bit of a mixed bag. The ones that are cool are really cool. And then there are a bunch that feel like they basically duplicate stuff that other either weapons or Augs did. But I'm glad that, you have to have new powers for a new one of these games. At a certain point in the story, that requirement can be voided, so you no longer have to sacrifice an old Aug if you do these side quests. But to do that side quest, you have to kind of morally compromise yourself by hanging out with this organized crime syndicate.
Yes, the Diwalis.
The Diwalis, which I did because crime for life.
Yeah. Like we said, a lot of the experimental Augs are for combat ability, but nestled in there, among other ways to do quiet takedowns and what have you, is the game-changing Aug, one that feels like it is absolutely mandatory, the remote hacking.
Yes. This is the same hacking from BioShock 2. So bringing that back, right? Like that was a big improvement in BioShock 1. You played Pipe Dream, which I liked, but it was still, you got sick of playing Pipe Dream at some point. Instead, this little timing mini game where a cursor swings back and forth and you have to make it land on certain areas. This happens in real time, which I really like. So you have to be in a safe spot to do it, again, similar to BioShock 2. And a lot of the levels in this game are designed with this in mind, it feels like.
Yes.
You cannot hack something up close. You cannot get up to a camera and then hack it. You can hack the computer that controls it, but if you want to hack the camera directly, you have to remote hack it. Again, real game changer, and it's a generosity. Yeah. Like, I can understand. I bet you there are like self-imposed challenge runs of this game where you don't use this. Yeah, because it feels like the game's kind of designed around a lot of it.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you can hack something that you don't have direct line of sight to by putting on your detective vision, kind of thing is pretty big. Like, yeah, that chugs through energy, but they have that energy recharge system. So as long as you're careful, and if you're hacking and hiding, you are careful. So yeah, and
they don't stay off forever. Like you can turn on and off TVs, and one of my favorite things is they made all the window shades electronic. That's incredibly useful. Yeah, like I want to hang out in this room and not worry about shit. Put my privacy curtain, but they're usually out of commission for 30 seconds, and you get a little indicator of the countdown that stays on your screen regardless of where you're facing. Incredibly useful. Yeah. So it crafts these little situations where it's like, okay, I have 30 seconds now to get over to this computer and hack it, which is in view of this turret. Yeah. Can I do that in time? It creates a lot of emergent little fun pressure situations, I think.
Can I time my hacking of this right with the patrol pattern of these enemy soldiers so that this window overlaps with a window where I can get across this thing that would otherwise be a bottleneck, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. I like it quite a bit. I feel very empowered. Like anything that lets you do things at a distance or like gives you more information is incredibly empowering in this.
Yeah, and there's a lot of it. Like it's a pretty empowering immersive sim.
Yeah. Something I felt was a little bit, let's say, not useful because I just didn't end up dealing with it very much is the crafting system.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Because the things you can craft, so there's a crafting system in this where you're going to find piles of junk everywhere. And you can use these to make consumables along with these schematics. There just aren't very many things that are useful to craft.
Right.
And the things that are useful take a lot of crafting bits. It drives the scrounge economy.
Yeah.
Like we talked about that before. Like you want to have things to find.
Yeah.
And there's nonsense with this game when it was released with a bunch of extra cash grabs. One of which is that there's a unique AUG you can get that allows you to break down weapons into these.
Yeah.
Which I didn't get because I didn't have the like day one premium iconic hat, version of this. But that seems like that would make this more useful as well.
Yeah.
You basically never run out of energy cells with that, but that's real pay to win adjacent nonsense.
Yeah, I don't care for that.
Yeah. Largely, most of that stuff has been patched out as well. But yeah, the crafting system doesn't add a whole lot. It's not obtrusive. I found you don't have to do it. And the couple times where I was like, I could use a multi-tool right now, largely interacting with that 30-second turret hacking window. Like, oh, this thing is above my hacking ability, but I need to get in this computer. I have 30 seconds. I'm going to use a multi-tool. I don't have one. I'm going to make one. Yeah. It was useful from time to time, but not very compelling.
Yeah, it wasn't something that I leaned on, and because I was basically just not doing combat at all, like I was mostly using the stun gun and the sniper trank, not for good bow points, but just because those are quiet. Just like you don't really upgrade those. Like I could upgrade the ammo capacity, but so what? If I'm in a situation where I have to try and trank 5 people before they raise an alarm, it's a losing proposition. I'm already fucked.
Generally, you have time to reload.
Yeah.
This is you're mentioned. This is coupled with a weapon mod system. You can also just find freestanding mods. The most useful, which is a silencer, if you are going lethal at all. And you can silence a surprising number of things, including the shotgun, which is always very funny to me. Yeah. Like going in and just stealth murking people with a shotgun. It's pretty dumb.
Cocking the thing is louder than the shot.
Yeah. But the silencer and sometimes a scope will be useful. Like the laser sight's useful on your pistols. Like there's a couple things that are useful, but not fun, not largely additive. You're not excited to do these things.
The laser sight is great on the tranquilizer sniper rifle, so you can no scope people.
Yeah. It's very kind of attached to this. The better version of this system is ammo types, that I believe is also an addition. Being able to hop swap those, and that's really useful. Yeah. There's armor piercing and EMP ammo, which you'll have to use for robot and enhanced kind of enemies, and that's really using EMP bullets to shut down a guy in a battle suit. Yeah, is really useful.
How do you like your walking coffin butt?
Yeah, exactly. Take that. You're gonna die here. Yeah. Welcome to the cask, motherfucker. You got amontillado. It's cask time.
Shitty Iron Man.
Yep.
Are there any other kind of like systems that were added in this that I just didn't make a note of?
I'm sure there are, but they'll come up. Okay. They're pretty minor. It is very just the same game as before, but better.
Yes.
Mechanically.
And a big part of that, it's better, is, oh my God, the environment's scary.
Oh yeah. This is best in class with that stuff, like tied for best in class, if not best in class. Instead of spending your time in Detroit and then moving to another hub, and then and Detroit, if you remember, in Human Revolution, was relatively small.
It's mostly just the streets.
Yeah, like there were a couple apartment buildings. It was pretty good. This takes place in Prague in 2029, and it's dense and beautiful. I feel like a simp. I feel like I have to throw my Mother Jones magazines in the garbage saying this, but the advertisements in this game, Cole, how cool can advertising look is answered by this game.
Yes.
I want to buy all these products.
I mean, I don't know. Okay, if you want to buy, I want to buy these fake products.
I'm going to take neuropazine. I don't know if it's going to help.
Yeah.
But it can't hurt. I just want it because I saw a cool ad on the subway for it.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of pills in the sky. I don't think you're appreciating the advertisement. I think you're appreciating the graphic and industrial design of stuff. Yeah.
It's. I mean, the graphic design is probably the better, because the architecture and stuff, all of that stuff is also great. The fashion in this game looks cool. It's a little less silly, I think, than Human Revolution. Human Revolution was going for like a neo-Renaissance thing.
Like a Baroque kind of thing, yeah.
And this is, they specifically set out to make, the idea was more functional and more kind of like corporate teamsy. Like you would be aligned to a certain corporation, with your fashion choices in this. Yeah. So there are more like logos and stuff, but it's a badass looking coat. At the end of the day, like I hate that in the in-world explanation is like, oh, it's because you're loyal to this brand. Yeah, but it's a cool looking coat. The people are wearing cool looking things. Yeah, ignore their haircuts.
I mean,
because they still then do good future haircuts, but really cool hats.
I think it's a better comment on like how deleterious that kind of branding and stuff can be if the actual stuff looks cool. Because if it was just, oh, these people are stupid for wearing this thing that looks stupid, and also it's corporate sellout, man. Like,
it's less of a straw man.
It needs to be attractive, right?
Yeah. You could see why people would wear this stuff.
Why they would accept it.
So like Prague, looks incredible in this. It's also probably the single like apotheosis of the Warren Spector Deus Ex, narrow but incredibly deep. Like his ideal game being a city block that is just modeled completely. There's that idea. It's not quite that. Because you can't go inside every building or anything like that. But there is a shocking amount of detail and depth in this hub. If you are like me and you like your video games to be museums, this is one big museum.
Yes.
And it's just, I can't say enough good things about it. These places interlock in really interesting ways. Like there are service tunnels and access tunnels and shared basements, shared attics, ventilation systems that you can crawl between different zones. Everyone's got secrets.
So many secrets.
Like if I was thinking about it, like individual flecks of gaming that are like my favorite thing. Going into somebody's house, finding their secret room, and their secret room has some fucked up shit in it.
Oh God, yeah.
It's like the best feeling in the world. It's so good.
It's the year example. It's probably why I still have so much affection for Oblivion, is because I went into that one rich person's house and was burgling at night, and I found a trap door, went down to their basement, and I found a Dark Brotherhood shrine. Yes.
That stuff is so fucking cool.
I love it so much.
I know that absolutely kills me. It's like, it's I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to be here. And I'm really not supposed to be here.
I know what's going on behind those picket fences.
I know. And the picket fences look cool. They're all neon and they got cool ads on them. It is just, if you like that kind of exploring a space, they released, I haven't played it, but they released a VR experience for this game, which is just you being able to explore these spaces in VR, because I feel like they knew they had a thing even outside of the game. This is a miracle city. One of my all time, like probably top 5 locations in a game.
Yeah.
For a game I really like, but is not, it wouldn't be in my top 5 or anything, but the Prague, man.
Well,
Prague's incredible.
What's wild about it too, you talk about like the shared basements and kind of the infrastructure that underlies this as well. The fact that the sewers are not a lose condition in this.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I hate it. I've got to go to the sewers because like people are living down there and they've been turned into their own, like little like hideaways for augmented people trying to escape detection. There are like
InfoWars runs out from under there. There's a very explicit InfoWars.
Yes.
The better version of InfoWars. InfoPeace runs from under there.
Yeah. But I mean, like, it just, there are abandoned subway stations and stuff down there, and like pretty much everything is accessible, like in the Prague area. Like if you just decide like, oh, I want to get into this apartment, like that may be relevant to a story thing later on. But there were tons of times where like I would get a waypoint saying like, hey, go to this apartment in this block, and I would go there and I would see that the door was already open. Oh, because that's the house that I went into where the end stage alcoholic lived. Well, now I get to meet him.
Yeah. I'd already gone here for fun. And that to me speaks really well of the game. Like if you're doing the goals before the game tells you to do them, that is a real marker of inherent and intrinsic value, and fun. And I had the same experience. And this is the second time I'd played this. I was still finding all kinds of stuff I hadn't seen before. Yeah. Like, oh, I didn't know in the basement of this wine bar, they were smuggling weapons, shit like that. It's magnificent. I really, really love it. The idea. So I started playing Dishonored 2 after playing this because I was had some extra time and was not full up.
You were Jones
on for immersive sim. I was like, oh yeah, this is what I like in video games. I want to do more of it. I realized I never played New Game Plus. So I started playing that, and they do a thing in that, like the very first obstacle you have to get past. There are, I think, 8 ways to get past this wall of light. you have to get past. Really cool. Like I really love that there's so many ways to get past it. This isn't quite that, but every apartment, there's at least like 3 ways to get in.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting miniature versions of that constantly.
Yeah.
And I can understand the argument against, like, this is me making up a guy, but I can understand in like a theoretical way, the argument against that. Like, what point or what value is in having 3 ways to get through something versus just making 1 way to get in that's most fun? But that's bullshit, because what's fun for me may not be fun for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it is legitimately very fun for me to skulk around and try to find open windows on obscure sides of these buildings.
Mm-hmm. And if I can't get to that window from the bottom, well, okay, do I break into the apartment above and then try and drop down to it?
Yep.
Because I can.
You know, yeah, you can. It just says yes.
Yeah.
Constantly. It's just king of genres. It's really, really good stuff.
Yeah. By making it so there's only one way that is, designed and fun. Like, I'm not saying that it's impossible to do that well. However, like you have to be careful, because there are lots of things that could be communicated as possibilities for solving that problem. And however fun that one way is, being told no to something that felt natural to you to solve that problem, just like, nope, doesn't work. Invisible wall or something like that. Or, assume I put in a better, let's steel man it. There's a better reason for it than an invisible wall. Being told no sucks.
Or just like, one way to go through, right?
Yeah.
So like flashback to the Metal Gear Solid 5 episodes, where most of the game had this kind of multiple points of ingress, and then the big story missions always funneled you down a valley, so they could control every encounter that you faced. Like, those are the worst missions in that game, and it's because it was fighting against human nature. Like, I, the player, and my character, and my version of Snake or my version of Jensen, want to play as a smart person in this world who would try to find the most advantageous way to get through this. And when my avatar is smart, Gary also wants to be rewarded for trying to come up with a circuitous, clever way to accomplish this goal. When the game developer says, no, you have to go down this hallway of mechs to get to the end, it's patronizing. Like it breaks my immersion, and it's one of the things, like, we've talked a lot on the show, and it's come up a bunch on Dispatch, like defining immersive sims. This is the immersion part of it, is that idea of like, oh, like, I am my avatar. My avatar is smart. I can be smart and try to find a clever way to do this.
Yes.
It put it in my veins. It's like absolutely my favorite thing games can do.
It was really fun. I enjoyed kind of engaging and reading these spaces and keeping an eye out for details, because details matter.
Yes. And lots of little developer accounted for things that happen in this as well. Like, you can do some silly shit and it has effects later that you might not expect. You also leave Prague a few times and get access to new areas of Prague. Prague has state changes. When you leave Prague, you go to these missions that are in basic, like, dungeons. These are more tightly designed and dense. They still will have the same kind of alternate pathways and alternate ways to get around and stuff. They don't have as much incidental, like, oh, I wonder what this random person who lives in this apartment likes. What cereal how will they react when I move their fridge? It doesn't have that. But there's still a lot of, like, alt paths. They never give up to that commitment to the genre.
The only one of these that I didn't care for was Golem City, which felt like a little bit like a hallway to me. Like, there was interesting stuff happening off to the sides, but there was very little in terms of like, oh, this is a location for me to explore. I wanted to see more of how people lived there, I guess.
It's weird because it's 7 layers high. Like, I think what they're trying to do for that is do the same thing but vertical as they did, and it works and doesn't. There's stuff, if you start jumping up and using your blink that you can get to get up into places you're not supposed to get, you can find stuff that's off the beaten path, but it's not quite as, like, creative as Prague is, or other dungeons in this. Like, a lot of people don't like Golem City. Like, that's a common point of criticism, and I see it. It's probably the weakest area in the game to go to, but I still ended up finding cool stuff there this go around.
We alluded to this earlier, but the story feels way more direct than Human Revolutions does. There's less, I just learned about this proper noun, and then I arrived, and I was just in time for that person to get killed, or to find out that they were double crossed, or there's this other proper noun I need to go to. I played that game. I played Human Revolution. It was a few years ago, but I still did. Sitting down and reading the Wikipedia synopsis of that story, I felt like I had taken drugs. Not good ones either. I felt disoriented and sleepy.
The people who are stewarding the Deus Ex prequels did not quite understand what was good about Deus Ex's story.
Right.
That is 100% clear.
Yeah.
This being more direct, and again, the virtues of a surface read on this, it does work a lot better. It also works a lot better because this being closer to the Deus Ex 1 timeline ties in more things to Deus Ex 1. So if you're like a Deus Ex 1 fan, you get little treats in this that it was too early in Human Revolution to really get. Like Lucius de Beers is in this game. He's not frozen. And he didn't develop his dandy accent that you get from being frozen. He's just an old guy in this. He doesn't become like a mint julep swilling popsicle that he becomes in Deus Ex 1.
He doesn't turn into David Bowie in Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah. Like just like an absolute frozen Southern comfort that he is. But you get those little so a lot of reasons make this a little bit better. The downside of that is that it's incomplete. This tells a complete middle chapter of a game, but it really feels like this was the middle chapter of a trilogy, and it was. There's we'll talk about that a little bit later, but there's stuff on people's resume and stuff that said that they were signed up for the second of 3, and it just never happened,
right?
Because of nonsense
corporate shit, ironically, or appropriately, let's say. This is a very tangled game, or a much more, let's say, deep game when it comes to the narrative branching. Choices that you make end up being reflected later in big and small ways. The order in which you do some missions will have larger effects. I love that shit.
Yeah, me too.
And also whether or not you find specific items. It kind of feels like they brought back a little bit more of that Deus Ex 1 or Fallout 1 and 2 kind of variety for the way things can go. Just that it felt like Human Revolution didn't have those conditionals where you found this vial of something. Okay, well, here's this option for you here. It didn't feel like the picking stuff up was connected to the picking stuff up game was not connected to the talking game very much.
This is much more investigative in that way. You are solving mysteries.
Yes.
In this, even though the first one was explicitly a mystery of who did the invasion on Seraph and stuff, this feels more mystery-y.
Yes.
The Human Revolution has a little bit of that with whether you decide to do the big recall, that what's its systems.
The total recall?
It's not quite total because you can decide not to do it. The thing where they implant the evil chip into the Augs. At the you can decide to do that or not. There's a little bit of that in the first one, but there's more of it now.
Yeah.
And the side quests are better integrated. In Human Revolution, the side quests would be oh, this guy who I work with wants me to go intimidate this thug. You go do it and then come back for a reward. The side quests in this are much more integrated. They span over multiple chapters of the game. You can only advance them so far, and then you go do a main quest and come back. They basically span the whole game.
Yeah.
And they tie into the main mission and the world a lot better. They're a lot crunchier and the rewards are better.
Yeah. They can give you advantages in later missions too. I did a side quest to help out an AI. And when the city was on lockdown on martial law, kind of a section of the game I have a little bit of a problem with. But there's this huge bottleneck you have to get through, and she says, "Hey, I'm going to help you," and then a part of the city infrastructure explodes that she blew for you to create this distraction for you, right?
And they're not A/B connected. It's just you do this thing, and then this thing that you forgot about comes back. It's a really cool moment.
Yeah.
And that AI eventually turns out to be the template for the Helios or Daedalus, rather, from Deus Ex 1.
It's great.
Treat. That's just one of the many connections to this. There are lots of Easter egg connections to it, but the Illuminati plays a part in this. You get Nicolette Duclair's mother, Beth Duclair, and then you get Lucius de Beers. You get that whole crew of evil fucks.
And you find out Manderley was always kind of a hapless, oh boy, I'm being used, but I don't know how I feel about it kind of guy.
They made Manderley a Bob Hoskins kind of short, fat character, and they changed his voice. Like Manderley has a very specific voice in Deus Ex, but Bob Page is back, and he's just doing Bob Page. And Deus Ex 1, came out in 2000. It was made a lot more sense for everyone to have kind of a silly cartoon voice. Now that everyone's voice acting appropriately, but then Bob Page is just like, yes, doing his like, sniveling villain voice is so funny. Your appointment to female will be completed within the week. Just doing the whole thing. It's really great.
Love Bob Page.
He's such a. It's like he's John Delancey. He sounds like Q. A lot. He's not Q, but he sounds a lot like Q.
Oh my gosh. So visually, the fidelity was upgraded. This is still a pretty good looking game, 6 years on. I do find that the way that they changed and scaled back the color palette is for the worse. I understand what they were aiming for, making this a little bit more dingy, a little bit more kind of like, let's say lived in and functional. I just think that is less nice to look at than some of the colorful stuff in Human Revolution.
Well, Human Revolution was like the first game that just went huge with the kind of gold. Like that. Like it was super bold. And I can understand why they didn't want to just be like, well, Prague is blue. Everything's blue. It's still just super bold, but it's blue instead of gold. I get it. And I think that in general, the design, like the graphic design stuff that I alluded to earlier is so much better. That ultimately it ends up being kind of a wash. Like the color palette is not as good, but individual, design, like visual design things are better for that. So it ends up, and just kind of greater graphical fidelity and stuff. Like you look at the magazine stands and that you can make out more of the magazines and it's cool. Some of that stuff's improved. So it ends up being a little bit of a wash for me.
The added level of detail is good, and like the clutter is especially good for like parts of the city that are more heavily cracked down upon. The district where Jensen lives. Like it makes sense for that to be kind of a shithole because the city isn't taking care of people there. They're busting heads.
Yep. It's also when Prague does the state changes. It also I think looks really good at night. That's when the visuals kind of come out because you're getting all of that neon and contrast from the advertising.
Yes.
One of the DLCs you go through goes through a new section of Prague at night, and it's very beautiful.
Nice.
Like looks real good.
Yeah.
Initially, there was no plans for a sequel to Human Revolution. Initial draft, like when they first started, drafts had Jensen dying at the end. But then Human Revolution, as DLCs came out, and Square Enix greenlit the sequel.
Yeah.
Originally, Obsidian was going to do it. That be still my fucking heart. But that version fell through. We do not know why.
Yeah, Obsidian kind of seems like it seemed like it was a mess at the time.
It probably was.
Yeah,
they've got messiness. I'm interested in Pentiment. I wish that it was gameplay-y. Like the Josh Sawyer on Twitter keeps comparing it to something like Night in the Woods.
Okay,
and like I'm interested in Night in the Woods with Obsidian level branching. Paths and stuff, but it does feel like a really scaled back thing. I think that they're a little gun shy after the Outer Worlds.
Yeah, which is weird because they immediately got a bunch of funding from Microsoft to make an Outer Worlds 2. I know nothing about Pentiment. When it comes out, I will hear what people think, but all I know about it is the art style. So
it's something I'm cautiously optimistic about, but emphasis on cautious.
So the team at Eidos was initially flummoxed because Human Revolution ended with those choices about what happens.
Yeah, the ending bot 3000.
The ending machine. But like, hey, how do we reconcile this? And then they realized, well, like the incident, the thing that happens in all of them is probably the thing that is going to have a bigger effect on the world in the near term. So we can just focus on the implications and the fallout of that. Like nobody would care about what happened at Panchaea, if we had to deal with
if their uncle was trying to strangle them.
At
the same time was trying to dump frozen peas down their neck. In bulk quantities. A Sam's Club amount of frozen peas directly into a unexpected nephew. T-shirt idea. the other thing that they did is they realized that they were dealing with a story in a world that was about conspiracies and information cover-ups. They just basically made, like, even if you did try to broadcast it, it just got covered up by the Illuminati.
Yeah.
They could roll that ending choice into, additional grist for, making the Illuminati a hate object.
Yeah.
And an enemy. Like, I was a whistleblower. I did a good thing and it got covered up. Fuck this shit. I got to find out who's responsible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of mechanically and also story-wise, they wanted to address complaints about the first game. So instead of shopping, taking the boss accounts to an outside shop, or the boss encounters rather, they decided, let's go ahead and do those in-house, and let's have like non-lethal options for boss encounters. I don't think I fought a single boss in this, Gary.
There's really only the final boss. There aren't really bosses in it. And there are a couple like dialogue boss battles that happen, but the actual boss that you fight at the end, the big boy, it's pretty recommended you don't fight him.
Oh, yeah.
You can, and there are a lot of ways to deal with that guy. I really like the last level of this game. Which is rare, weird for a Deus Ex game.
Right.
The last level is one of the best ones. But yeah, that's the only thing I think is definitely a boss.
Yeah. They also made the story branches deeper, so you didn't have the ending Tron 3000. Like you're always going to get to a version of, hey, the Illuminati's still out there and we need to take the next step, to go after them. You're always going to solve a near-term problem here. There are lots of different ways for that to kind of take on different shades, depending on, some choices that you make at the end, but also they do a very good job of doing the Fallout style, like we're going to check in on these individual plot lines that you resolved throughout the course of the game.
Yeah. It's the curse of making this a prequel.
Yes.
And they kind of made their bed and they have to sleep in it now.
Yes.
Nobody wants to follow up on Invisible War. Like, just nobody knows or cares what happens after Invisible War.
A game for which I felt nothing.
Yeah. I just want to see what the Omar are up to. Those guys are great. So this game overran its timeline and budget, mostly because they had to upgrade its engine for next generation consoles. And then when the game was about to release, there was a bunch of controversy over Square Enix's marketing. Square Enix basically fucked this whole thing.
Yes.
In lots of ways. It fucked this game, like kind of killed it in the crib when it came out on a couple of different axes, and then made the business decisions that made sure there wouldn't be the third one. And if I was already mad at Square Enix for games that Square Enix puts out, the way they've treated their Western studios, like this and Tomb Raider and stuff, is another reason for me to hate Square Enix.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be Octopath Traveler that makes me hate them. It could also be this.
Yes, it can also be this. And the controversy over the marketing kind of ended up becoming the primary story. This is the file card that a lot of people have, is the fact that, they led this talking about a mechanical apartheid. Yes. And also included kind of in the advertising, the slogan "Og Lives Matter." Prominently in those materials. Eidos says that they had arrived at the slogan back before it rose to prominence with the social movement for Black Lives that started in 2013.
Not
kind
the
of as
they think it is.
No,
we came up with it first.
Yeah,
to invalidate.
Yeah,
it's such a funny response.
You guys think you're so original, huh?
Yeah. Oh man, BLM thinks they're so big, but we came up with it with our fake robot game.
Yeah. No.
We talked about this. This was what I was talking about earlier, where you have to surface read this.
Yeah.
All of these attempts to invoke the real world for this stuff are super fucking misguided. I love video games. I love this video game. I don't think that it should be playing with live ammo that is apartheid.
Yeah, still happening.
That's a real thing. That's a real thing. That's actual humans who exist, who weren't made up little characters, little bits and boops that you designed, suffer from that. Same thing with the All Lives Matter thing. Like making this a comparison point directly. Like it can kind of exist as one. I don't want to say you can't make a game about an oppressed fake people.
Yeah, because a lot of fiction gets wiped out if you can't do that.
And it just, that feels very restrictive to me. You obviously should be careful with that. And the best way to do it would be to make a good metaphor, You don't want to do this. You don't want to do Detroit Become Human. You want to do an actual like metaphor that works.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't do that, don't draw attention to your weaknesses.
Yeah.
These unflattering comparisons.
Especially, and this is going to sound really superficial, don't use the word apartheid, even if it is like a description of what is happening here. Don't use the word segregation either. A whole bunch of sci-fi and a whole bunch of like cyberpunk would be, sidelined if we said that you just can't tell this kind of story. About like just okay, so transhumanism, what happens when one part of humanity does this thing and the other part doesn't? What are the what are the tensions that happen there? That feels like it is as old as cyberpunk itself, right?
And it's interesting. It's old as cyberpunk itself, and it's worthy.
Yes,
it's an interesting story. Things get dinged when they tell that story without directly tying it to current metaphors.
Yes.
Or make it a metaphor for current things. And that frustrates me a little bit. I feel like you should be able to explore that idea as a future concept to reveal general things about human nature that are not specific.
That's just sci-fi. Yeah.
That's sci-fi. I think that's on the table is my personal opinion. People can disagree. That's fine. But that's my personal opinion on that. But you're not you're not doing yourself any favors by being like, no, please compare these fake robots that we made to black people.
Yeah.
Like that we invite you to be our guest, that's dumb. That was, yeah.
And it's like, maybe instead of saying, oh, we thought of blank lives matter first, like, okay, say you did think of that, say it's true. Right.
Yeah. And you don't say it.
And you have the mock-ups or whatever. Plans change. So like the second, let's say Ferguson happens or any number of atrocities that happened before this game released, especially when it comes to 2016, the hell year that was, not saying that every year since then hasn't been hellish as too. We live in hell. But like, especially by that time, you can course correct, bud.
Yeah. Yeah. I just it's a failure of imagination. Like if you can't take your oppressed people and not make like AUG power or AUG lives matter or something like that, like that is a failure of imagination.
Yeah.
It is your job to create this world and come up with this better way to do it. And they fucked that up.
Yeah.
And it's, the first part of what you said before we moved to this point, one of the reasons why this is a Gary pick, like for this month, one of the reasons why I wanted to do it was because I wanted to talk about this game as a game.
Yeah, there's a game here. It's not just the controversy. Same with Devotion.
Exactly. And the controversy got all of the attention for this. And that is when you play with live ammo this way and you make boneheaded mistakes, you are doing a huge disservice to the rest of your team.
Yeah.
So there are tons of people who worked on the artfulness of this game. Like there is tons of art, like in terms of just visual art and design and video game art in terms of craft that is going on here. And because of this marketing group making this boneheaded decision, all of that stuff got swept under the rug. Like this game did okay. People talked about it. It made okay money. It didn't do great, but it did fine. It didn't take a huge bath or anything. But the fact that this was the headline is somebody's fault.
Yeah.
They fucked over their team doing this. Irresponsible.
Yep. Irresponsible in a bunch of different ways.
Yes. Even if you don't buy the social justice angle, which you should, it's irresponsible in terms of just hearts and minds and marketing and media.
Yeah.
It's fucking infuriating.
Yeah.
Is what it is, because you like look at the marketing for this game. You're like, that's not really what's going on here.
Yeah.
That's not really in the game. So much, the way that I think people who never played this probably have a tulpa of it in their mind, that it is really upfront with that shit. And characters are constantly saying all lives matter. And there's like little miniature Fergusons happening and stuff. No, it's not. It's just oppression imagery that you would have that's on loan from any number of things.
On loan from Half-Life 2, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's if you have an underclass, it's that general.
Yeah, it's infrastructural,
yes.
like as it is in real life. Like,
yeah. But as it is in real life for lots of things that, play with this in the general scope, I think is the idea. The other thing that Square fucked this up with is the augment your pre-order.
God damn it. I want to strangle whichever executive thought that.
You don't want to augment your pre-order? I've been referring to things as augmented around my house.
Yeah.
Like I'll put a treat in Pocket's food and be like, it's been augmented.
I had some pizza with my family over the weekend. I augmented it with some red pepper flakes.
Yeah, I love to augment some pizza with some gochujang. Augment's a very funny word to use. I don't like it when it refers to marketing. Here.
Yeah, it created one of those like big like grids that you see when a game is about to come out. Like, okay, if you pre-order from this place, from this retail outlet for this much more, you get this in-game thing.
Oh, that stuff is so fucking gross and toxic.
Hate it. Yeah.
It feels like I'm seeing less of that now, but I think it's just happening in spheres I don't pay attention to.
It just happened with that big Sonic re-release that they did, Sonic 1 through 3. Yeah.
Yep. No, thank you.
No,
and the reason why this sucks is not just because it's annoying to us personally, but it borders on pay to win. You pay real life currency. Again, the intersection of real life. Let video games be video games. We don't need to, I want to buy a product. I don't want to spend real money to do better at a video game.
Please don't.
This allows you to get in-game items and stuff and start with a little edge.
Yeah.
That you can have.
And like that was the initial plan. Then they pulled it. They canceled it, but they still had like at the last minute they put in those microtransaction things.
Yep. Silly.
Yeah.
So this was followed up with a couple of different pieces of DLCs called Jensen stories. Favorite series of children's books.
I'm sitting by a fire and you're reading. Yeah. Let me tell you a tale.
Jensen and Toad were in a carriage. Going from their house. The first one was a pre-order bonus initially, but then eventually they like everyone got mad, so they just released it. I'm sorry, I'm trying to erase it, and just released it for everybody. Which is called Desperate Measures, which is just a mini dungeon.
Okay.
I played all these I played some of them before, but I played all of them for the first completed them all for the first time for this episode, because again I was a little bit ahead. Desperate Measures takes place in the campaign. It would actually make a lot of sense to just be a level in the thing. It's you going and getting some intelligence on the bombing. That's the inciting incident. System Rift brings back Pritchard, so all you Pritchard heads. Jensen. That's real fun. That's the one you go to the an area of the city that was previously blocked off, so you get to see more prog. And it's real good. You're in a big complicated complex, like an information bank, basically like a big storage. And then the most ambitious one is called A Criminal Past, which is a prequel one where you are sent to jail, like a totally different huge map to extract an agent.
Okay.
That one's really good. The jail is a really great design.
Yeah.
Just in terms of a level, like you would think a prison would not be that interesting because it's like cell blocks. They get around that.
Yeah.
It's a really good DLC.
Yeah. Well, actual prisons. I mean, like one that is like lived in, has all kinds of like personal effects up. It's like an apartment building. Like I fucking love being in an apartment building. Yeah.
Yep. It's very similar to that, but with huge like admin wings, and you got a crooked warden and all this stuff. It's cool.
Gotta have a crooked warden.
All three of the DLCs are actually pretty good. In terms of DLC average, like how usually with DLCs there's like a stinker and then like a pretty good one and everything, other than FromSoft. Do pretty well. These DLCs, if you like Mankind Divided, I can recommend them.
Nice.
They're fun.
Yeah. I heard literally nothing about them, and I was not able to finish them for the show.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that either. None of them are essential.
Yeah.
Feeling.
So this game reviewed well, 80s, which feels about right for an immersive sim, There were some complaints about the story feeling rushed and inconclusive. True. Yeah, can't spot the lie there. And the sales were weaker than Human Revolution, but it was still like on the list of some of the best-selling games of the year. So I think that we're back to like Resident Evil 7. Oh yes, it outsold every other Resident Evil, but still underperforms.
Yes, the absolute horror show we live in terms of video game budgets.
Yes.
Making success all but impossible for big games. And this is part of why Square Enix was like, I have no faith in this shit. Eidos Montreal was working on the sequel, They pulled him off to work on Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. 2 games I've not played. I've heard were good. Knowing this team is on Guardians of the Galaxy makes me want to play it. I've also people love that game. I've heard that's real good.
It's real cheap now too, or it's on Game Pass even.
It's basically free. it's time. And Eidos Montreal wanted to return to the series when they have the resource and staff to do so. But Square Enix hates Gary Butterfield personally.
And vice versa.
Decided, we don't like each other. So they decided not to. But eventually they sold Eidos Montreal to the Embracer Group.
I know, that's so menacing.
Yeah.
I was inquired by Embracer.
Do you remember when we did the Monster in My Podcast series on Shadowrun? And do you remember the Embracer?
I don't remember the Embracer specifically.
I have the image of the Embracer. It's like a big long-legged ape thing that's holding up a hand like he's a crossing guard. I can't read the word Embracer without specifically having that guy go, stop. In my head.
Grunk say stop.
Stop. So they're apparently interested in continuing the series and sequels and spinoffs. Be Still My Heart. It's been a while since we've had a big budget immersive sim. I was talking to you about this, like Dishonored 2, this, and Prey.
All coming out of one
around
year.
The same time. Fucking A. And then Deathloop came out. I love Deathloop. But it's been a minute. And Gloomwood just came out. Like, we're getting some stuff in the indie space, which is really awesome. But I would also like a new Deus Ex.
We were spoiled by that glut.
Right now, please.
Start working on this game 4 years ago.
Yes, please. I would like a surprise release. Why don't more games do that? Like, just Christmas.
Seems like the way to go.
I would really love it. So, and that's gonna be it. We're gonna get into it. We'll talk about some of the individual powers and stuff like that when we run into them, and we'll get into the game.
So let's get into it. We have an introduction kind of setting the scene. It's been 2 years since the AUG incident, the largest mass casualty event in recent history, and the world has kind of proliferated with these augmented terrorists and people claiming to have flashbacks to the incident that caused, even more of these violent outbursts. And this is creating the pretext for all of the oppression and crackdowns that happen. Yes.
So we begin with our little tutorial mission here called Black Market Buy. We work for Interpol now. There's like an Interpol comic that sets all this stuff up.
There's a novel too.
Yeah. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. There's some stuff that sets us up. Jensen works for Interpol now. So a confidential informant for Interpol set up this black market deal that'll draw this infamous AUG terrorist who went missing during the incident.
Yes.
And it's taking place in this abandoned hotel in Dubai that is also an island. Floating. It's one of those hotel islands you read about.
That they have in Dubai? Yeah.
So you need to stop this Iraqi smuggling cartel called Jinn, or the Jinn, from interfering. And we have our crack squad of commandos, including us, who are the only augmented person on the team. Can we talk just for a second about Adam Jensen?
Sure.
He started shaving little spikes into one side of his beard.
Did you notice that? I noticed that. Is that intentional? Like him doing a little bit of a little bit of serration on the jawline, or is that because of scarring?
I don't know. You can't see any scars.
Okay.
I can only assume it's intentional because I don't blame anybody. This is something that probably should have went in generalities. I don't blame anybody who can't get over Adam Jensen. To play this game. Like, we can talk about the environment, but people are just like, I don't want to control an Adam Jensen. I have grown to enjoy this goober. By the end of this, I was kind of like, you fucking dumb himbo, like you colossal dork. Like, he's not JC. by any means, but he's got his own charm to me.
But I mean, for me, it's the voice more than anything.
Oh my God.
Just it's
what
really
if
hard.
Drakkar Noir had a voice?
Yeah.
What if there was a Pixar movie about different male clones that came to life?
The secret life of fragrances.
Yeah.
But it's like that kind of like macho whisper, like that. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But we got to get over. Like what I mean, it sounds like Tim Heidecker is doing Decker, but without the accent.
Yeah,
a little bit. Like it's a real Steven Seagal kind of thing, and it makes it very hard to take seriously.
It's like a less charming version of Solid Snake, a little bit like somebody trying to do a Solid Snake, but not being David Hayter and not saying stuff Solid Snake says, instead being badass.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to kind of roll around in the Linkin Park-esque mud of this a little bit to enjoy him as a badass. But it's a real, you have to let him disappear. And it's better if you're just like, I'm me playing this. I just happen to be quantum leaping into this walking advertisement for like, I don't even fucking know.
I mean, that jacket, like it's a real cool jacket.
Yeah, no, it's a great jacket, but just like if you saw this guy wearing it, you'd be like, "Fuck that guy."
I mean, but also like it's like I know he didn't ask for this, and so he couldn't put in the specs for it or the request. But he has sunglasses that deploy when he's stressed.
Yeah, he's got stress glasses.
They're built into his head. It's like a reflex.
Yeah, he just kind of pops them like Wolverine pops claws, except for cool shades.
Yeah,
it's ludicrous. I kept thinking about this. I kept thinking of the Carl Havoc. I kept saying, imagine if this guy came up to you. Because tons of people in this world have to deal with him coming up to you. You know, and I had so much sympathy for them. They should have based their advertising campaign on that. Like Adam Jensen walks up to you and talks.
Imagine an encounter with the Jensen.
Yeah, what do you do, hot shot?
I mean, obviously it's on site, but
it's you really have to acclimate to him. It's like jumping into a cold swimming pool.
Yeah, it was a little rough, kind of going back to it. The actor talked about like how difficult it is voicing a character who kind of has that many different characterizations to it. To which I would say, I don't know, like Jennifer Hale did a pretty good job with Shepard. Those different Hawks and Dragon Quest or Dragon Age Awakening or Dragon Age 2 rather. Yeah. It's
not as hard as it makes out to be. And in general, I think the non-Jensen voice acting in this is pretty decent.
Except for Alex, like she got an award for that, and she generally does fine, but she does pronounce it Prague.
She does say Prague.
That's a director's problem, not the actress's problem. Yeah.
And she'd never heard of Prague. Or maybe in the future they say it differently. Hail Kaiser. They just say it differently.
Yeah.
But it's just weird. He stands out in this pretty intensely. And the beginning of this is obnoxious because you're with your squad of like elite SEAL team agents busting each other's balls on a chopper.
Yeah, you are getting to know McCready a lot, and you never see McCready until the end.
Oh, McCready's around. He works with you. You can go chat with McCready as much as you want.
Oh, I guess I did. He never factors in any of my missions, probably because he's doing other stuff.
I went and just chatted with McCready for fun.
Oh, okay.
I love McCready. I'm totally McCready pilled. It really feels like the game is going to be significantly more, and this is going to sound ludicrous, but I'm going to say it anyway, more masculine than the actual play of it is based on this opening. It really feels like it's going to be Commando.
It feels really oorah, like, you know, like, yes, you're the one Og that we brought on this. Can we trust you, buddy?
Yeah. Whereas I'm just sneaking, you know, and like looking through people's emails and like, oh, he broke up with Carla. That's like generally what Deus Ex is to me. Like, wouldn't it be funny if I left their stove on and put their fridge in their bed? What if I did that to everybody in town? They would think there was a weird guy.
Because there is.
You know, that's how I play these games. It's a lot sillier and less like masculine.
Yeah.
Than this ends up being. Where the beginning of this really makes it seem like it's going to be a Call of Duty, like, boom, headshot, bro.
No man left behind.
Yeah, like that kind of shit.
Yeah. And you're the solo operator who is going on the rooftops on your own while everybody else is down there in the shit.
Yeah, I don't need a parachute.
Right. I've got my Icarus landing system.
Uh-huh.
It's built into my back. Yeah,
I still love that thing. It looks so cool.
Oh yeah. This is neat because it's a tutorial, but it's an empowered tutorial. You have all of your augs in this.
Yeah. You're starting off fully auged. The boss gives you your classic. Do you want to up close? Do you want lethal or non-lethal weapons when you start off? And you land and you start moving through this complex. The team is getting nervous because a sandstorm is coming. And you make your way through. There's a little side thing to maintain our undercover operator's cover there. That will pay off later. Like he shows up and gives you some intel back at the base. But you eventually, after crawling through here, you reach the deal site where all of a sudden the deal gets ambushed by these augmented assassins who are wearing these polygonal masks. So if you've seen the Deus Ex, kind of the new Deus Ex look, which is this, reflective, I don't know how to describe it. Yeah.
Everybody that kind of looks like Andros.
Yeah. And there we go. They all decloak. They kill the person doing the deal. They kill Shepard, who is our target there, and start trying to take the weapons. And at this exact moment, a sandstorm moves in. Your job is to make sure the helicopter does not go off, does not leave.
Yeah. So you sneak up. At least I snuck up. Everybody else was fighting and dealing with the sand. So I just snuck up and pulled the battery out.
Yep.
It's very funny.
Very, very smart. McCready likes that. He talks about it later.
Yeah.
But the building collapses from this. The sandstorm is too much. It collapses into the water. And we get our title sequence with this imagery of Jensen as Icarus. Jensen's not an Icarus figure at all in this. I don't know why they chose that. It doesn't look, it looks cool, but that's why they chose that.
Yeah. It's just Jensen and Renaissance art kind of deal.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. I think, just because of Renaissance art depicting Icarus. And then we got our title sequence here with the Illuminati talking about their plans being off track.
Yes.
We're getting all our names thrown around, which if you haven't played, it's not even Human Revolution. If you haven't played Deus Ex 1, this stuff will mean nothing to you.
But Lucius, the old man and the leader here, tells Robert Page, like, hey, we need to activate the sleeper cell. And you don't realize who that is until, later.
Yes. So after a time, we start the game. We're getting off a train in Prague, and we meet up with one named Alex, who's introduced during that novel. One of the things I like about how this game tells its stories, and I can understand this being a mixed bag, but it throws you in the deep end and just kind of expects you to pick up stuff on context.
Yeah.
You just start talking about, like, the characters don't explain things to each other in clumsy ways. Like, it was a couple of beats before I understood what these things were.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, like, the person who ends up being very, very important to this, Nathaniel Brown, like, you don't, like, nobody talks about him really outside of just, like, it's in news stories, and, like, you'll occasionally see, like, like a portrait of him on the, on, like, businesses related to him or whatever. It's not just like, they're not building him up for the entire thing. He is just a part of this world that is important and would intersect with, with the agendas of the people you're involved with, right?
Yeah, it ends up feeling confident to me, the way this works. You pick up just from context here without them explaining it to you that you're part of something called the Juggernaut Collective. So you are a double agent. You're not just in Interpol. You're also working for this collective that is a hacker collective, like an anonymous style thing.
Yeah, so you're a double agent on Task Force 29, and you're working with Alex, who is a part of this, and the kind of the suspect thing is, hey, TF-29, that is it's an Illuminati front, like they're doing the bidding of the people pulling the strings, related to this fuckery that we got exposed to in Human Revolution.
And a big part of kind of your choice in this is deciding who's culpable, like who knows.
Yes.
And I really like how that articulates the stuff with your boss. This really cool bit of here. There's somebody who is spying on you, who shows up in this first cutscene.
Yeah.
You don't find out that they're spying on you until way later.
Madame Photograph.
Yeah, they're doing it here, which I love that. Security's really tight. They're treating the Augs crappily. They're being shaken down. They're being called clanks. That is a slur in this, one of those things. And Alex says, like, hey, listen, when you get back to work, here's a whisper chip. I need you to stick it into the neural subnet. This was made by Janus. Janus is the leader of the Juggernaut Collective there. Yeah. This is going to allow us to listen in. We also don't find out what the neural subnet is. It's a virtual meeting place, basically. Yes,
it is. It is Mark Zuckerberg's dream brought to life. Yeah,
they have legs. And the legs can get augmented. Like you can do stuff in this, and eventually you can jump really high. And you're talking about it, and then a bomb goes off in the station.
Right. Destroying it and kind of knocking you to the side. This is a huge terrorist attack. It's very crowded here. And your augmentations malfunction. You are unable to lift the rubble off of this boy's dying mom, unable to save. Yeah.
Yep. Sad. So we cut to 30 hours later where you're in bed in your apartment, doing your cool smoking in the shafts from the blinds that Jensen likes to do.
Just hanging out in a sunbeam, like a cat does.
He loves it. Jensen has a real hobby, and it's baseball, which it's hard to pick that up. Like you look around his apartment and you can see that there's baseball stuff.
He's got like pennants and stuff up. Yeah,
he's got pennants. He likes baseball.
Yeah.
So he doesn't just like smoking in beams of light. But if you just from playing the game, you'd expect that's his only thing that he likes doing. Yeah. Dude loves baseball. And to be fair, he looks like a guy who would fucking love baseball.
Oh yeah. Be crazy about baseball. Yeah, I really don't actually, I don't have any stereotypes about baseball people.
Everybody who's in my band who isn't me is like way into baseball.
Okay.
And they're always writing songs about baseball players and shit.
Oh, okay.
I'm just like, like, all right.
Yeah. You got a bunch of Mike Millses there, huh?
It's the baseball project too.
Yeah.
So his Augs are offline. Seraph, who they recast his voice.
Yeah.
Which is sad because he doesn't sound like Adam. He doesn't sound like that anymore.
Yeah, he just calls you son a lot.
Yeah, he's a son. And he's kind of doing an impression of the previous Seraph, but he's not quite the same. He called and left a message, and this is the first time you've heard from him. You call him back after 2 years, and you're still pissed because if you remember, he was on Pangea pulling some bullshit. Back in the day,
he wasn't forthright with you. Yeah.
Yes. And since here, Seraph Industries has gone under, he's working to build arcologies for the augmented.
Yeah.
So like paradise cities for them.
Yeah. So just a different kind of keeping the augmented separate kind of deal.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We also get a call from our street doctor, Vaclav Kohler.
Yep.
Who's a real fun dirtbag.
Yeah. This guy looks like shit.
Yeah.
He looks like he's in what people in the 80s thought punk bands.
Oh,
he like he's in Dogs in Space or something.
He needs a good night's sleep and a shower.
He 100% does, but there's no shower in his place. I don't think. He says, hey, come by, but you can't come in the front door. The roads are blocked. He's being real cagey.
Yeah.
About it.
Yep. And this guard who blocks our way gives us to say like, hey, if you want to get through, I have this friend who's an expert in permitification.
Yes. Again, a real shithead.
Yeah.
You can move in here. You can go past because it's a ASX game. You don't have to go through the checkpoint. You can go above, you can go around, all these cool things.
Yeah.
But this starts a side quest. If you go check out the expert, it makes sense to talk about it here. This checkpoint is fake. This is all these cops are making money on the side, taking advantage of a graphic arts activist who is a forger, an expert in forgery, who is helping to forge documents for them.
Yeah. And they are selling them for exorbitant sums. Like I think they want 30,000 credits or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is more than I think I accumulated in the game.
Yeah. It's a ludicrous amount of money.
Yeah.
You can do a couple different things with this. You go and you can talk to the forger. You have to sneak in to this base. And she says, hey, the checkpoint guy is the ringleader. you can take him out. I don't care how you do it, but that'll help me.
Yeah.
There's a peaceful way where there's a police officer who suspects the extortionist, and you can apply pressure to her.
Yeah. I mean, shittily, but also appropriately, she doesn't necessarily care. It's just like, oh, he's giving augmented people a hard time. Like, okay, whatever. I can't justify that. But if you say, oh, he's kidnapped and is extorting this woman, like, then, all right, got him.
Yep. I was playing, I tend to play these games as augmented people who go crazy. I'm every big natural's worst fear, because I suck them shits. This guy had to go. There was a peaceful option for this, but I was like, no, I'm going to slice this guy with my nano blades.
No, yeah.
I'm going to see one of those very pleasing animations where your highly impractical elbow Wolverine thing comes out and goes underneath someone's chin.
It's a throat-seeking blade.
Yeah, my throat-seeking blade this guy had to die. Oh, yeah. So I killed him. But there's a better way to do it as well.
I didn't want to be the center of a ruckus. A ruckus was had, but it was the police who did it. So
yeah, they will do a ruckus, and it's hard to go up against them at this point. You don't have your augs, and you're not very empowered.
Yeah. So there's kind of a little extension here, which is like, hey, you go back and say, all right, he's dealt with. You're good. You're free to go. And she says, all right, well, I have these, I just finished up these two, these two false papers, for two people. It doesn't make sense just to leave them because they paid for them. So, in order for these to work, you need to go and sneak into this government building, to activate them in the, in their computer system. You go and hand the papers to these people. There's a store clerk who got estranged from his daughter after the incident. He attacked her husband. And then there is this kind of performance artist with dissociative identity disorder. And these two different people.
Lives in an underground theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The permitting kiosk is just kind of in the small little office. The trick is the person whose employee ID that you took, that the forger took, only has one permit left. So you have to choose who gets to be protected, and the other person, you will see them in Golem City because they got rounded up.
Yep. Yeah. I chose the old man because the theater lady who ran her puppet theater underground for herself annoyed me. I mean, she'd have DID. It wasn't her fault, but I didn't like how it felt very like manic pixie-y to me a little bit. But it ultimately is just window dressing. It doesn't it doesn't affect the main plot.
Yeah.
Very much.
I went with the mentally ill woman because I didn't think she would have a shot in Golem City.
And she has more life to live as well. Yeah. So Kohler, who is our dirtbag, who does surgery on us, works out of a bookstore, like an amazing looking bookstore that has more books than anyone could ever buy.
I love this.
It's like a 4-story bookstore or something like that. But the Diwali crime family is attacking it and occupying it right now. So we have to sneak through this kind of like this library bookstore past these mobsters to meet Kohler in his basement lab.
Yeah, his dungeon. I got a question for you, Gary. So I didn't put points into the Icarus system for a while, just because other stuff, like that is a key. Being able to drop from a distance lets you circumvent geometry, but just I got other stuff instead. Did you die at all? And like, how frequently was it? Because when I died in this game, it was mostly because I was running carelessly and I fell down a manhole. It was like it was cartoon shit. Shocked. Yeah, it's like it was a manhole that I opened earlier that was just out in the middle of the street and just running to a place.
3 a.m.
Yeah, it's like fall damage. It's actually pretty punishing in this, and I would fall, and I would die in the sewer at the bottom of the ladder.
It probably happens to all kinds of people in Prague. You truly knew the plight of the Og. You didn't have your look down Og activated. I put points into Icarus because I'd played it before. And a thing this game does that I think is dirty pool is that Icarus, when it activates, you get the little cutscene, but it also makes you better at falling in general.
Yeah.
So like the no damage falling and taking a knee that doesn't activate your system only kicks in when you have Icarus.
Yes. Yeah.
So it increases you can fall from any height, but you can also fall from like a medium height as well.
Yeah, not take damage.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that I can't not play this, since I spend a lot of time up in the rafters. I always do Icarus.
Yeah.
But that is very funny.
Just so this happened to me here. Just like, all right, I've got a clear line. I'm gonna run.
Who turned out the lights?
You've been playing those recently, huh?
No, I just the Cowabunga collection came out, so I just had them on the brain. Me and Derek, New York, 3 a.m. is a thing that we say a lot.
Okay.
The seriousness of that second line is very funny. Or Big Apple, that's what it is. Big Apple, 3 a.m. I just imagining the meme with like Ed McMahon or whatever, where it's like Big Apple, and he's like, 3 a.m. He's like,
laser eyes.
Like, it's so much better.
Oh, a Hyperstone heist is about to begin.
I love a Hyperstone heist. So you had to sneak in and sneak into Kohler's secret lab, which you had to pull like a book to get into his basement elevator. I know why this guy runs a bookstore. When it just seems like it'd be easier just to have a sewer lab. You go down, he puts you under, to take care of you, and then he wakes you up in a panic. You've been under for an indeterminate amount of time, and this is where he discovers that you have mods that must have been put in your body after you recovered from Panchaea.
Yes.
Shit he's never seen before. Real big deal.
Yeah. So this starts a side quest that spans the entire game and doesn't really give you any resolution.
It makes me think it was going to be a big part of the third one.
Yes.
Finding out about the stuff.
Yeah, this kind of blank, this time that you can't account for in this clinic. But you go and call Seraph, like, hey, what's the deal? Like, you were the last person who put shit in my body that I didn't ask for. And describes it. And this description matches these Titan Augs that were designed by this Russian scientist named Orlov. The Orlov brought them to Seraph to make, but they weren't up to the standard. The last that Seraph had heard, those were just theoretical schematics, nowhere close to even being physical prototypes.
And Seraph feels really guilty about how your relationship ended, so he's like, please let me help you with this. Like, I'll do some digging, like my name still has some cachet. I'm gonna look into this, and that starts that side quest. There's a neuroplasticity modulator that the leader of the mob has, the mob that's attacking Kohler, the Diwali. He wants you to go get it, and it's being held, and that's why the Diwali is there.
Yes.
Because they do business with this guy, and he thinks it's like Jesse going and talking to
Tuco.
To Tuco. Like, he thinks he's a big wheel, and he's really not.
Yeah. This'll let you get rid of the trade-offs on those augmentations later on. To get this, you go into this underground casino, and you meet someone who ultimately ends up being a pretty good guy as far as organized crime toughs go. Otkar Botkavelli. Yeah. The guy who's the better of the two. Yeah. Because there's kind of like an honorable crime boss and a non-honorable one. You talk to him, and he says, he's not going to give it to you, but you use your Cassie AUG, which is your social combat AUG. The way that works has been tweaked a little bit. Okay. In this, you do a little bit less like spraying pheromones at the person, like Drakkar Noir clouds that like make them like you. In this one, it is more, and this was an element of the other one. The emphasis is just changed. Sometimes you will persuade or intimidate, like you'll get a little like quick time prompt to do it, but mostly it just tells you have to watch these little blips as they talk to see whether they're a beta, an alpha, or an omega. What mindset they have. And then you can apply pressure depending. It'll be like appeals to betas, appeals to omegas, and stuff. If you, it's not over and done because people will be a mix of things. So there are ones where they'll do two blips, 2 on alpha and 2 on omega, and one of them is the right answer. So it just narrows it down for you, basically. But you also get this little like paragraph thing that describes what they're like. And this is a businessman. He's a man of honor. So you play straight with them. You're like, I'm with Interpol. I'm not a cop. I have no organized crime isn't my division. I have no interest in what you're doing. I just want that thing. And he agrees to let you have it for a favor at a later date. And this has never happened in media, so obviously it's going to work out well for me.
Yeah, exactly. Favors of the layer data are great. So you do this, and but Kohler can't calibrate it for you.
He just doesn't feel like it.
He's off doing something. People leave their house and go somewhere in this game. I don't know where, but he's just not there. You go fuck around in his apartment, but he's not around.
So, I mean, I've got side quests here because I got my Augs and I immediately wanted to start going to explore. Yeah. So, like, I've got the two big ones here because they're really good. Something that is a little bit annoying is that this game does have nags in it. Like, if you are off doing something that is not the main quest, like your boss, Miller, will radio and say, Jensen, get down here.
Come to work. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care for being nagged in a video game, especially when it doesn't matter. Like, one of the things I really like about Human Revolution is it begins and it does matter. You know, like you're told to hurry, but if you fuck around in base, you get there, all the hostages are dead. That I really like that. This is less so to me. One of the things, or the last thing I want to say about the getting this calibrator thing, this modulator that allows you to not overclock. When you have to overclock and you have to knock out one of your classic mods, the one that lets you mark enemies, the final upgrade lets you have 40 enemies simultaneously marked.
I've got big plans, Gary.
It's like a really, really good one to knock out.
Yeah, that was absolutely the one I didn't take.
If it's not going to be hacking Fortify, it's going to be this one.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So there's a side quest here that you can discover right away. Pretty much, there's a courtyard near your house where there's this woman named Bonbon who is selling this new drug called Neon, and I am always down for cyber drugs.
This one's real cool too. Like, it gets you high and you see like colors and stuff. It's a hallucinogenic that gets you high. There's just a tiny little like throwaway line when you go to a club later where someone talks about like, oh, like this thing that happens, we're going to talk about in a second. I'd heard about people going all black. And like, that's a real scary idea. Like, you take the color drug and like you just go blind.
Oh God.
For a while. Like, it makes a lot of sense for the color drug to do that.
Yeah. It's so good. So like, this doesn't pop up as a quest. They've got this thing called points of interest that can sometimes turn into quests. This turns into a quest when you break into her safe. You know, she makes a deal in the alley. She won't talk to you because, hey, we're not selling dogs. There's a reason for that. We're going to find out. But you can break into her safe and learn that her distributor is pressuring her to go all in on Neon.
Yes. Yep. So we follow this kind of series of leads from that, and eventually end up in this luxury apartment from this guy named John Dubnick, and it's absolutely trashed here. He's been dealing Neon runs back from this organization called Cygnus, and his home has a smart AI system that sets up as a chat. This is something you can do with your house as well, but several of these houses have this. And one of the things you can do is call a cleaning service.
Yes.
And when you do this, they clean up the house, which I really like, but they leave this big pile of pills. The cleaning service is delivering the pills.
Yeah. It's Cygnus. It's the front. Yeah.
Yep. Along with a towel wrapped up as a swan with a key card to a neon rave.
Yeah.
There
are ways to get into the rave without doing this, but I really love, talking to the house to make this happen.
Yeah, and that it changes. That you get to see the house in two states is really cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
and then you get to put the fridge back on the bed.
And I put his fridge on the bed. They put the fridge back, and I put it back. Yeah. Or out in the hallway.
Okay.
Like, on my apartment building, I put all the fridges in one apartment. Just so everybody has to go down.
It's a real Fallout 2 water chip kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I really want to be responsible for everybody moving away from Prague because of the fridge bandit.
Does he take anything from the fridge? No.
No. He's not really interested in the interior fridge. He wants to know where fridges are.
Yep.
He wants to be a fridge. You go to this very sad rave here, and we find there's somebody's OD'd, apparently. Somebody's dead there, and we find a PDA on them and find out that Neon has this adverse reaction with neuropozyne. Neuropozyne is the drug that for people whose bodies reject Augs, they have to take this stuff. It ends up being kind of a currency in this game. I ended up hoarding it, and you don't have to. You get so much of it. And Adam Jensen's special because he does not need neuropozyne. That's why he is a super soldier par excellence. But the idea is there's this drug that kills Augs. And like, I like the dialogue here because there are people talking over the body. And one of them's like, yeah, this is just basic, like, drug etiquette. Like, you need to know your interactions, like caveat emptor. Like, this is not our fault. You know, just you know what your shit you're taking interacts with. And the other person's like, yeah, but like, I didn't know this until now.
This stuff just hit the street, dude.
Yeah, like they're having the argument about this, and someone's trying to justify it.
Yeah. So the PTA mentions where the Cygnus headquarters is. It's just this apartment, but there's a secret room that you get into by squeezing a spray bottle. By squeezing a trigger spray bottle, and there's a safe with directions there, taking you to the Neon Lab where it's being fabricated.
Yes, you get down there. You want to sneak because there's a lot of dudes, and also they're Diwali who are doing this. And if you're being an ally with them, you don't want to murk a bunch of their guys.
Right.
You sneak in and you talk to the chemist, and you can persuade her through a couple different ways. Actually, through here, she'll react to a couple different things in destroying the reactors. You can do it yourself as well. There's a bunch of different ways to do it, but this is the way that lets you get out peacefully without causing an alarm.
I thought it was really, like, I saw like reverse psychology. I was like, okay, this will be fun. I can just reload if this goes bad. But it's like you say, all right, well, I'm just going to go in and shoot everything I see. And she's like, are you insane? That will kill everybody.
We'll all die.
Yeah.
You can appeal to her. Like, she's, had to make moral justifications to do this job, but you can ply her morally.
Right.
You can guilt her into it as well.
Yeah. A good side quest. Another really good side quest is Cult of Personality, which is real good. You will hear rumors, like it's in your like in your courtyard. People are talking about just strange things going on in the sewers and like pamphlets being strewn around. You follow these rumors down into the sewers, where there's this guy. He's real jittery, waiting outside of like this vault. His name is Visnik. He talks about being cast out, and he's kind of only speaking in like these really garbled, indirect metaphors. Like, he cannot say directly what is going on.
Yes. Other than that, there's this guy named Richard who's the leader. He's got all the members insignaled to himself and to each other, so they're connected. You go inside and you meet this character named Richard the Great, who addresses you from a jumbotron and holds you in thrall. You try to use your Cassie and he hijacks it. I love that. Stops you from resisting, and he describes this utopia he's creating.
Right. So you remain ensnared or ensignaled after this conversation. Like, you have like a filter over your vision, and like nobody is going to give you any help. Everybody is seeing something different. You cannot use your augs or anything while you are within this commune, right? And the upper hallway is guarded by turrets. I love the signage that is around here. There are posters that just say "Good people don't go upstairs."
Yeah, yeah. I would love to have a 2-story house and just have that sign. Like, and no questions about it. Like, anytime somebody came in, just be like, "What sign?" Like, what upstairs? Like, good people don't go upstairs is very good. When you explore, you find a crumpled up poster for this magic show, this hypnosis show, led by Richard and Laborio. So we go to Laborio's magic shop to find out what's up. This is somewhere I'd gone before the quest.
Yeah.
So I had seen all this creepy shit without knowing the quest was going on, which is great. You get to find out Richard and Laborio work together using social mods and hypnosis to guide people through shared hallucination and binaural beats.
I love that. You guys like, what's the secret here? He talks about frequencies bouncing off of or whatever, but and it's like very thick accent. He has binaural beats. Yeah, like it's a fucking YouTube.
Like, there's a beat that's lo-fi enough that all you can do is study to it. Like, you have no choice but to study.
You stop everything you're doing and you pull out a textbook. You start
studying. Like, I haven't been to college in years. What am I doing? It's beat so lo-fi.
Oh, that's so good. So Richard, he disappeared after the incident. Laborio thinks that seeing so many people die broke him. It's like just something had to change about him. Just everything was going well until that. So he gives you these scramblers that you can place on the emitters to kind of block the signal. And he says, "Hey, if you can help it, please don't hurt him." Like he's a good. I knew a good person, right?
Yeah. Yep. So you sneak upstairs. You have to sneak past the turrets and put the emitters on the little things, which allows you to confront Richard.
Yeah.
And you basically convince him he went too far. Like he's replacing one dystopia for another one. This totalitarian nightmare.
Yeah.
Super good quest. Reminds me of the magic show that I went to. They sending me this email for a puppet show they're doing now with the puppeteer of the two, the worst of the two, called Dracula Revamped, which I'm curious about his Dracula puppet show. But if it's just Dracula screaming at kids the whole time, like all that other guy's puppet shit was.
Yeah.
I think I've talked about that in this show, but there's a local magic done bad guy, and one of them's a puppeteer, kids magician who yells at kids a lot, who apparently is now doing a vampire show.
I mean, like there's a version of that could be really funny.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Like if I wasn't already, if the last time I went didn't almost give me a panic attack, I would go for irony reasons, but I just can't watch kids get yelled at that much. It's very upsetting to me.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
So it's about time we go check out the headquarters, at least check in with Miller. He's been harassing us over our comms for a while. We go in, and this woman named Aria, who came across like Jensen's girlfriend to me.
I think she just likes him. Jensen doesn't experience love.
Not in the way you and I do.
Yeah, it's not how Jensen works. So like Jensen is not affectionate towards her. Jensen cannot express that emotion. It's not one of the emotions he can express. So but I think that she's sweet on Jensen.
Yeah.
She loves the way he shaves his beard into spiky shapes.
It's so expressive.
I love your Play-Doh Fun Factory beard, Jensen. It's so hot.
She comes in with matching little jaggies on her hairline.
Yeah,
let's make them meet. Yeah.
Let's lock. So she gives you an access card to the shooting range, so you can do that. And everyone's freaking out.
Yeah.
I like the way this like intelligence bullpit looks.
Yeah.
You can walk through this and overhear a lot of like interesting, not interesting because it's relevant to the game, but it's a really good simulation of this. Mm-hmm. Like this feels like a, Interpol workshop.
Yeah.
And there are different rooms for different specialities and such that you can go into. It's neat.
Yeah, no, it is a functional space, and there's tons of stuff you can do in here. You can break into lots of offices and things. For all the world, this is laid out like you're going to have to fight people in it.
I kept expecting to come back and fight.
I totally expected a UNATCO thing, right?
Yep. And it would work as such, but it doesn't.
Yeah. Instead, Prague turns into UNATCO. Yeah.
Yep. So you break into the server room in the neural subnet and plant the whisper chip. When this happens, Miller's like, Jensen, get into my office now. And you're like, oh shit, but just a coincidence.
Right.
And he's an asshole about your augs as well.
Yeah.
It turns out this is not a bad dude necessarily, but he's not being great about this.
Yeah. It just, they keep it plausible that he could be working against you. Right.
Yeah.
Presumes that you'll go crazy, kind of like,
and you have a whisper in your ear, like Alex keeps saying, he is in on.
Yes. Yeah.
And it turns out the way that, the Illuminati is not scary if everybody who's working for the Illuminati knows they're working for the Illuminati.
Right.
The reason why these are scary is that there are well-meaning true believers, who don't know that. And that's who this guy is.
Yeah. He's a functionary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very abruptly, he is pulling you off of Dubai and off of, following up on these crazy gold mask people that you found there, ever brilliant though they may be. He's pulling you off of that and putting you on the local bombing case, putting you on the train station bombing. And the first order of business is to sort out jurisdiction with the local police who are trying to monopolize the crime scene.
Yes. So you have to head over back there. They're going to find a way so you can get back there. That station has been closed. But they're going to get you a special car that'll go there. As you're leaving, Alex radios you and says, hey, the whisper chip was miscalibrated, so decoding these messages is going to take some time. Basically, go do some game before I give you this info dump. So you take the subway to this specific metro stop we haven't been to since the beginning. And Miller, there's a guy that Miller thought was in trouble who they sent in, this guy named Smiley. who
is such a dork.
Yeah, we got something in a dorky forensics agent who got sent on missions as well.
He's so jumpy. Yeah, he was kicked out for tampering with evidence. Like, oh, they're being real hush hush. And I like this. He says, "Could you just kind of get in, Jensen your way in there and get the scan of this blast site for me?"
Everybody knows what this guy's about.
Yep.
Like, just for somebody who never asked for it, which, like, again, he only says that once in any of the games. Like, it's not like his Pokemon catchphrase, but he does do it real well, and everyone knows it.
It's. I mean, they play on it like it is a joke that kind of always works for me. Like, it's at one point later on, somebody says, "Oh yeah, the thing you need is inside a police station," and you can say, "Well, what are we going to do?" And the person says, "So you're telling you're not the kind of person who breaks into police stations?" Yeah,
I think you say, like, you're like, "Oh, the kind of person who would do that," and they're like, "You're telling me you're not that?" Like, it's real good because they know you're playing a video game. It's like in Zelda when they acknowledge that you're just picking up and throwing pots all the time. I love that shit.
Yeah.
So this is a little Deus Ex dungeon. It's a little instance. We're not going to come back here.
Right.
It's just a really well designed little dungeon. This is basically very similar to what the first DLC is as well.
Okay.
It's just a dungeon about this size.
Okay.
That you can go through and get some intelligence here. The most interesting part of this, the most interesting feature, is the central room where we're introduced to the agents in power armor.
Mm-hmm.
Who and you cannot the way the Deus Ex handles melee is that it takes energy, but you can one shot people in melee.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do it with these guys unless they've been EMP'd. You get the animation and then they no sail you.
Yeah, they'll like grab your fist and then throw you into the ground.
Fuck you up. So you have to sneak through here, and if you want to take anybody out, it's much more difficult. Like, these guys are a big multiplier for complexity when they're about.
Yeah, doing ammo changes and stuff like that. Although EMP grenades work very well. Like, I always make sure I have a few of those in, especially once drones start being added in. Basically, this game has man hacks, which is weird.
Yeah, even though you can also hack them with remote hacking and shut them down, which is typically what I would do.
Yeah.
With them.
So the way that I did this, like, I had this very strong arms, for lifting up heavy things, because there's people do not understand how ventilation works. Like, that vent won't do anything if you put a vending machine in front of it.
No. I also had this for fridge lifting purposes. So, like, it's how I got around a lot.
Yeah. But
replace somebody's fridge with a vending machine. It kind of fulfills the same function.
There's refrigeration in it.
Yeah, it's refrigerator adjacent.
Yeah,
you like soda. I can tell. I've been through all your cupboards. Like,
a funny thing about the pickup economy in this is that, like, one of the most common items that you can pick up is the bottles of liquor and the beer. So they just populate people's cupboards with it. So it kind of makes everybody seem like an alcoholic who is hiding their stashes.
Everybody drinks constantly in this.
Oh, it's Europe.
Yeah, it's how they do it in Prague.
Prague. Yeah, but I busted my way through some vents in the back and kind of got around and snuck around the upper ridge of the room where the police and power armor were and dropped down to the office with the scan.
Yep, which is great. When you you bring this back to the city center, and you're going to give it back to Smiley. Miller calls and says your next assignment, you're going to go to Golem City. However, you had to be cleared with HR through TF29 and talk to the psychologist.
Right.
And you're a grizzled cop. You don't have any time for this shit.
Yep.
So you return the disc to Smiley. He says, this will take hours to analyze. Again, go do some video game.
Yeah.
First. On our way to go do this, though, we get flagged down by Peter Chang, one of our coworkers, and says, like, hey, somebody's been trying to blow the cover on our business. We didn't mention this, but the way you get into TF29 is you go into this unassuming shop, go into the back room, and the back room is a secret elevator that goes like way deep into the earth. Cool spy shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, somebody keeps searching and trying to figure out stuff about this place. We just had this bombing here. We can't be too careful.
Right.
Can you find the source of these hacks?
Right. Saying like, hey, there's this unrented apartment nearby, where some of these are originating from. Go check it out. So you go there, and there's a listening post in here, and there's a PDA that's hidden on a high shelf. Like this has a message to the owner, this person who goes by the name Little K, about how she, shouldn't be romanticizing the year 1977. This is the password to her computer. This is 1977 in this alternate history. Something bad happened there.
Yeah, and she's an older lady who lived through that. When you find out who she is, we get on the computer and find out she's part of this group publication called Samizdat, which is chasing a story to expose TF-29. One of the things in this game is that there's only one radio station and it plays Alex Jones 24/7.
Yep.
When you get remote hacking, you can turn off everybody's radios, which I like because nobody should be listening to that shit. It's weird, there was like Aaron Signal did a video on Deus Ex talking about how the conspiracy stuff hits different now. In this game, I feel that more because it's more explicitly like tied to, Alex Jones bullshit.
Yeah.
Like the guy's doing the Tom Likas Alex Jones voice.
Yeah.
When he's talking about that, this is supposed to be like anonymous, similar to Janus. Like this is supposed to, or God, what's the name?
Juggernaut Collective. Samizdat is they're like come across a little bit like the beginnings of the pirate party, Northern Europe. Yeah.
The idea that these people are generally good is the idea.
Yeah.
So they're working on this story to expose you.
Right.
So you get on the chat program talking to her boss, and he's mad. He thinks she just left her AOL open, so he thinks he's talking to her.
Yeah. So I play coy and get him to remind me of where he said to meet, so we can go and speak in person. I somehow didn't make a note of this, but you go into the sewers and you talk to Kay. And he's spouting stuff, and he's very obviously incredibly passionate about this, talking about like depopulation and things like that. And this would be, intolerable for anybody to listen to, but it's in the world of Deus Ex, so it's right.
Yeah, he's actually correct. He's the conspiracy theorist who knows everything.
Yes.
You need him to bury the story, and you're trying to do it for his own best interest. Like, hey, you need to stop looking into this. Like,
you're kicking a hornet's nest.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, you're here to kill us?" And he's like, "Probably not, but listen, you need to. I will Jensen your skull if you. I will immersive sim. There are 6 different ways to get into your skull, and I know all of them.
I have at least 7 different dogs that can get in there.
Yeah. So he says, listen, scratch our back and we'll scratch yours. Head over to the Palisade Bank, go up to the executive offices. The Palisade Bank is an awesome level.
I love this so much.
There's only one required mission that is optional to go here. Huge Painted World vibes to me, like the confidence in which they have huge dungeons. And that's something that harkens back from Deus Ex 1. When you went into the sewers and there was the MJ12 complex down there that you just stumble upon. You're like, and you stumble upon it in that game before you even know there's a conspiracy.
Right.
It's really cool. Here, like, this is the only time in this game I tried going the other way. I did the other mission where I didn't do this. This is the only time I had to go here.
Yeah.
It's really, really neat to have this complex and this good of a dungeon be just for optional content.
It's great. Yeah.
Love it. This is like a super secure bank. You can go, you're allowed to go in. So you go into the lobby and you talk to them, and you ask the receptionist like what they do. And it's basically, they have certain laws here, which make this very attractive for people to keep their secrets and their money here. And you had to sneak up into the executive offices to find the public, or what is the Picus, the Picus News thing, to find out how they have been. You go into the hidden room to find out how they covered up for a plane crash.
Yes. Yeah. The Picus has been saying, and this is a news story that you've heard, that like, there was somebody who got into the cockpit because they were having a flashback to the AUG incident. And it was this augmented person went crazy. That's what downed the plane. Instead, the actual truth is that a bunch of planes have been going down around this military base, and it seems to be connected to stuff that is happening there
at the base. So you give this back to Kay, and he talks about depopulation, talks about his conspiracy stuff, and then you have to hack an infolink terminal for him so he can put the story on all the billboards in town. Very cool.
Something that I like. So to get to the rooftop where that's at, the only way that I found was there was a scissor lift there. You can use your biocells to power certain things in the environment to get you where you need to go.
Yeah, very, very useful. There are other ways to get up there, but it's one of the harder places to get up to alone.
Mm-hmm.
There is one of the new OGs in this. The other one, other than remote hacking, that I found useful is the Icarus Dash, which makes sense. Like just reverse your landing system, which slows you down. Use one that speeds you up, and it functions as an incredibly slow considered blink from Dishonored. If you charge it up to where you can charge it, you can get really big ups on it.
Okay.
And can get from like a nearby window on top of that roof.
Oh, nice.
Which is how I think I did it. So before you go to do all this stuff, before you go to Golem City, Alex Varga wants to talk to you. You go to this basement of this abandoned limb clinic that's been vandalized and destroyed after the incident.
Yeah.
And she has a message she's going to play for you from the Whisper chip.
Yes, this is an overheard conversation from our boss, Miller, talking to whoever he is accountable to. Manderley is who it turns out to be.
Yep.
We know Manderley is a factor in this. At least Jensen knows his name before.
It's your boss in Deus Ex 1.
Yeah. But it is Manderley telling Miller, hey, you need to pen these like 5 recent terror incidents, including Dubai and Prague, and this break-in at VersaLife that hasn't happened yet. You need to pin it on this group called the ARC, the Augmented Rights Coalition. Yes.
VersaLife is the only corporation still producing neuropozyne.
Yes.
And that has not come out yet. This is where you can kind of decide. Alex is convinced that Miller's in on it, and you can say like, no, it sounds like he's just following orders.
Yeah.
He doesn't sound happy about it.
He sounds reluctant that he's being told to do this stuff.
And that turns out to be the true thing. Yeah. You don't find out until the end whether this guy's really in on the conspiracy or not. But you have to report to the psychologist, Dr. Ozin. She interviews you mostly about kind of your disposition regarding what you went through.
Yeah.
Seraph and Pangaea, do you have any conflict of interest with ARC?
Yeah.
Since you are augmented as well.
I express sympathy because I am who I am. Say, you treat people like animals, they're going to act like it.
Like you can't just put your boot on somebody's neck and not expect them to rise up. Yeah. This person ends up being important to the plot and would probably be a huge part of the third one if they ever make it.
Yes.
This is also the flashback DLC, The Criminal Past, takes place with an interview with her. And it does the Prince of Persia thing where when you die, she's like, that didn't happen, Adam. You're right here.
I just thought I'd fuck with you a little bit.
Yeah. Sorry, Duck. Yeah. So you meet Miller and his pilot, Chicane, at this helipad behind an old puppet workshop. That's real creepy.
Hey, can you make your metaphors not as on the nose, please?
I love Chicane, though, because if you start digging into Chicane's stuff, you find out that he knows Dr. Ozin, and you can find stuff. So, like, I'm just going to jump to the reveal here, because you can find really strong hints about it. They're both Illuminati agents. Miller is not. Miller is just following orders, but he has people sent there to keep an eye on you and keep an eye on TF-29, which is this guy and the psychologist.
Yes.
I love that it never comes up in the plot. Like we find out about the psychologist being that in the post-credit scene. Chicane, you just have to figure out yourself by looking through emails and digging around their stuff.
You can break into his apartment. It's like right nearby.
Yep. Yeah. And I love to find out stuff about characters through scrounging.
Scrounge is one of the better verbs.
It's one great. Of the better verbs. Scrounging around in there. So Miller says when you get here, there's footage of an AUG in a hoodie leaving the bombs on the platform in yellow bags used by Talos Rucker and ARC. We've heard about Talos Rucker. We can read news stories about him and stuff. He is he's AUG's right activist who is apparently like incredibly charismatic.
Yes. It's like a political leader. Yeah.
Yes. If the game was, I want to say like 100 degrees more insensitive, but if it were like 4 degrees more insensitive, they would compare him to MLK.
Yes.
Like they were already so close with all their AUG Lives Matter bullshit. They stopped just short.
It's actually kind of shocking that they didn't.
I'm very surprised.
Yeah.
They didn't do it. Somebody was like, wait a minute.
Should we? No, we shouldn't.
And Jensen, who knows he's motivated to pin things on ARC, is skeptical about this.
Right.
It gets kind of hand waved.
It's real flimsy, right? It's like, well, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to extrajudicially grab this guy And we need to get into Golem City to do this. We have an informant there named Tibor.
Blame it on Tibor.
I'm always blaming on Tibor.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about that Simpsons episode is eventually he gets promoted above Homer.
Tibor is wonderful. Viva Tibor. Jensen, is talking to Chicane. Chicane's got a limp. He's got this knee brace. And he's like, hey, you should get that augmented. You could just walk. And he's like, no, my limp keeps me honest.
Yeah.
He is against augmentation.
I was expecting there to be I don't know. I think it's because who was the chopper pilot in the previous game? What was
Malik.
her name? Yeah, because Malik, like the relationship was so good and she was such a character. I was expecting Chicane the Forever Man to open up to us. No.
Yeah.
Nope. It's like, hey, you're not as fun as that person who possibly died in the previous game.
He's an Illuminati agent. He doesn't want to open up.
I know.
But he's not as fun. That's why we get Smiley instead.
Yeah.
So we traded Malik for Smiley.
No.
Kids today are always trading Malik for Smiley. So we go to this thing called, the official name is the Udalek facility, but it's called Golem City. And this is a Kowloon walled city, like ghetto.
Yeah.
Not trying to use that term fast and loose. They say in the game, it is a place for this underclass to live in squalor.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a horror show, even inside. The police there basically have carte blanche to, herd people around. They basically live with no privacy and no freedom of movement. Just enforce poverty.
Yep. You walk by a lot of police beating on dudes, and there's not a whole lot you can do because there's a lot of surveillance.
Yes.
There. When we head to Tibor's house, his sister-in-law is super pissed. We have to calm her down, which I failed to do. I did the wrong choice here. So I dug through her stuff and found out the information anyway. Like, that's cool. I'm going to look at your laptop real quick. Do you mind if I check my email?
Need to see check the score on the game.
Yeah, I like baseball.
The Tigers. That's Detroit squad. Yes.
Yeah, the baseball squadron. Tibor is her brother-in-law.
Yeah.
His brother, she's married to Dusan. They've both been taken by the police.
Right. Tibor is affiliated with ARC, but Dusan is not. Yep.
So we have to sneak into the Narrows, which is the police, kind of police station here, and talk to Tibor. He gives us some leads, but he says, if we help find Dusan, he doesn't have any part of this. Like, we should help him.
Yeah.
And this is tricky because you get to Dusan and you can't like sneak him out. Like, you have to deal with the police that are here.
Yeah, I love that. Like, I felt so smart, like getting through the vent above and like stun gunning the guy who was interrogating him, thinking, hell yeah. And he's like, no, I'm not going to talk to you. There's still police out there.
Yeah, they're right there through the window. Yeah. What am I supposed to do? That doesn't can't support human weight. You have an Icarus lightning system that allows you to do that. In real life, you just fall through. Haven't you seen The Breakfast Club? You fucking idiot. So you have to take these guys out, and it's hard. They're milling about this little bullpen, and there's a guy in power armor here. This is one of the times in which I went loud.
Okay.
Because it just happened that way, and I try to roll with it when I get caught in these games. So, taking out the other guys and attracting them over. You can do the hitman. There's a problem with the toilet thing where like somebody comes to inspect a body, you knock them out, and then somebody comes in and inspects that body, you knock them out. But it doesn't work when you get to the power armor guy. Like, you have to EMP him first, which makes it a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, this was so there is a television here that you can keep turning on with remote hacking. This is where I learned the power of that.
Yes,
that came in real handy on the streets of Prague once the lockdown started as well.
You get to summon the video dead by turning it on. When I made the body, the pile of knocked out cops or killed cops, I killed the cops because they're all fascist in Golem City. Dead cops. I put a landmine under them, which is how I got the big guy. So when he came to check it out,
that's some insurgent shit.
Yeah, man. Fuck they're awful.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I really, part of me, the joy of a game that we can play non-lethally to me is that you get to choose. It's not just that it's non-lethal. Like, choosing who has to go is a power fantasy I will take.
Yes.
I will play God.
I just I would have done that, just trying to justify myself, like, oh, I would have totally hit him, but just didn't want to. I didn't,
cool.
didn't want to get my clothes dirty.
I could do nunchaku moves as well.
I'm not being a dermot here. I always, just like taking people out quietly is quiet. Like, it's not going to start a big thing, and I'm not spec'd for taking fire.
You're not alone in that. Like, a lot of people who I talked to when I was talking sugar about this game on Twitter were like, this is the first one of these I've non-lethaled all the way through because they made it easy and fun. This game is not really playing in the space of Dishonored, where it's choosing non-lethal as a hindrance that you're choosing for moral reasons.
Yeah.
It's not really doing that.
Right.
But yeah, all cops must die though. At least in Golem City.
Yes.
Yeah. Cause they're bad.
Yeah.
You do this, he gives you this arc passphrase that he'd heard.
Yes.
You don't need this to get in, but you can get in.
Yeah, it just a bunch of different ways to find keys to talk your way in. I ultimately didn't need to do this because the Botcavelli, the Diwali guy, calls in his favor. Like, I get through the back of the Narrows, and Otar calls in like, "Hey, favor time." He wants us to take care of this shopkeeper named Galois, who is not French. He's not even attempting an accent.
Nope. This guy, I killed this guy as well because I'm a good Diwali soldier.
I didn't kill him. I said, hey, somebody's trying to kill you. You should get out of the country.
Yeah. Also, very acceptable. He's kind of a dick, though. Did you talk to him before this as a shopkeeper? He's a real asshole. Yeah. At this point, you can see the slippery slope that my moral stance is taking. Like, well, these cops are oppressive. They got to go. This guy was rude as well. Can you imagine somebody who's like a rude man? They got to go. But yeah, he's got a lot of, runs a weapon shop.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of security. You can sneak in the back and take him out that way. And this also has this little shaft that'll get you up into the arc zone.
Yes. Yeah. The secret that he was being killed to contain is the fact that the mob boss, Raditch, which I always trip over because that is the name of a minor villain in Dragon Ball Z.
And the name of a minor vegetable in some salads. So.
Yep. Yeah. But that guy, he has an augmented leg. So, it doesn't want to get rounded up. So
Raditch sucks as well. Like, doing work for Otar allows him to take over the Diwali, and he's an honorable crime boss.
Nice. Yeah. So you get past his shop by hook or by crook, and you reach this area called the Throat, where you get introduced to somebody who ends up being a major character, and he's bad news because he immediately has Gunther Hermann vibes. He's such the villain. Yeah.
In this, like,
it's Marchenko.
Apparently, in the Interquel novel, Gunther Hermann shows up.
What?
Which made me very curious about that. Yeah, like I mean, like, far be it for me to read a Deus Ex Interquel novel. Like, that's some hard times. That's some divorced ass shit. But I still am kind of curious about what happens with Gunther there. Yeah. This guy is very clearly like a philosopher Gunther.
Yeah.
He's dismantling one of these drones that his people brought in, and he's threatening, but he's also wants to engage with you. He's not dumb.
Right.
He's not Gunther. Gunther was a big slab of dumb.
Yeah.
This guy's we're going to find out he's also a double agent, but he is doing the voice of a true believer extremist very well.
Yes.
Playing the part rather.
Yeah. He's a fanatic and says, hey, stay away from Ark. No matter how hard line you try to be in this, you're still Jensen, and you're still an Interpol guy. You're not hard enough for him. He says, just stay away. This is your only warning.
Yeah. So we get to the dungeon part of this. The rest of this has been kind of a city with a little mixed stuff, but now we're in an explicit dungeon. We get to our territory. Tibor is routing us out.
Yes.
Telling everybody that Interpol is coming for us. That is why everyone's automatically hostile.
Right.
Here. And we go through the surprisingly expansive arc. Complex. This is huge.
Yes.
Many kind of bottlenecks and multi-floor dungeoneering through this. It does feel, I think that the other thing that when people don't like Golem City, it's not just the city, it's also this. Yeah. Being relatively linear. In a literal sense, like it's a line. It's a series of kind of hallways. There are multiple ways to go through the hallways. There are still vents and second and first floors and access tunnels and shit, but it's much more linear.
Also, like the part where they actually give you free reign to go and do stuff is the anonymous industrial part.
Yes.
You know, like the opening stuff where everybody lives as a hallway where you get to see the oppression and stuff. And then after this, when you're making your escape, it's the cool it's like the cool rooftop garden kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like that rules, but like you're being chased through there. Like you can't actually like poke around and see stuff, you know?
Yeah. You know what this looks like? It looks like levels in The Surge.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
You know, that horrible hub level. One of the worst hub levels in video game history. Yeah. We eventually get to Rucker, who is a sloppy drunk, explicitly in this game, not just, the way that everybody is. And you can debate him because he's not a bad person.
Right.
You know, you can explain like, hey, prove them wrong. Like, I will do everything in my power to make sure you get a fair trial about this. But if you didn't really do it, like, you should come in. It will do more good for your purpose. And convince him to come in willingly. He gives you a key card to a safe. It has evidence about the real bomber. And he's saying like, I'm really not going to be able to get out of here alive. If I do, there's a leadership struggle. There's a coup from within.
Right. There are factions inside of ARC, some who think that he is a hindrance, and like there are people outside of ARC too who see Rucker as a hindrance. And
he gets fox dyed. He starts convulsing. His augs turn against him. This is real good body horror.
The way his hands kind of split apart and kind of look like weird, like fluttering meat flour kind of things.
It's real spooky looking. So he died here. When you go to the PDA in his safe, there's a message from JM.
Right.
There, when Joseph Manderley, we had to head to the extraction point. It's kind of treated like you screwed the pooch, even though you didn't do anything.
Right. Yeah. So we have to escape through this heavily guarded rooftop garden. And you're pretty much always going to be under fire when you when you run, like an alarm is going to trip. But Marchenko comes out and in the cutscene stops his men from firing. Like he lowers it pushes the barrels on their guns down, kind of glares menacingly up.
Yep. He is the Splinter faction, basically. The leader here, and he is controlled opposition, which we'll find out. We get back to Prague, and Miller's super pissed that Rucker's dead.
Right.
This is going to be real bad news. Like once this gets out, Gollum City is going to turn into a war zone, and even when it gets out here, it's going to be real bad news because this guy's kind of a messiah figure.
Yeah.
We can give him the secret evidence if we want to, or we can save it for ourselves, or we can give it to Vega. I ended up giving it to Vega as well.
Yes. Yeah.
But you can also give it to neither. If you choose not to trust either one.
Right.
You asked TF29 to check out Marchenko to find some information on him because you have a feeling he's a pretty big wheel down at the evil factory, and they were not able to get any information on him.
Yeah, he's a ghost.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Smiley did his job.
He did, yeah. We went and did enough game, and now we can get the materials analysis, the big scan of the platform here, and you go. So you get that, and oh gosh.
Alex.
You can also,
Alex asked you to, says at this point you get a point of interest to go break into Miller's apartment,
right,
and see where his loyalties lie. And this is real cool. Like you go do that, and you find out nothing that says he's a traitor, but the reason why he's acting like such a high-strung dick is he's got really intense family drama going on.
Yeah. He's like his daughter has a degenerative spine disorder, and his ex-husband, I believe, is like, saying like, hey, we need the permission. We need your permission to do this augmentation on the spine. But like, I mean, Miller knows. So just like
this is going to be consigning her to life as a second-class citizen.
Yeah. So, is like, okay, which is better, not walking again or, living under the thumb of this, system that I'm a part of.
This is going to be a rare, I don't like to, I'm not taking shots or anything, but like, what a games critic I really like, Aaron Signal, did a video on this that I find very frustrating. And one of the things that he had a problem with this game, he's like, oh, this doesn't, it talks about these downsides of augmentation, but it doesn't truly engage with it in a meaningful way. And the way he talks about it is as if the only way to do that would have been to have like Jensen in the position of this girl, or this daughter of Miller. I disagree with that. I think that like having this be part of the world is not superfluous.
Yeah.
The world matters that you're in, the context you're, just because your character is not experiencing something, that's a very powerful thing for a video game to do. But not everything has to be, cart life. Like not everything has to be Papers, Please. You can have something where it is part of the world tapestry and still have that be additive without it being, the only option.
Yeah.
And this is a good example of like the kinds of conflicts that he was saying, and I'm using him as an example, but this is a pretty common criticism of this game. So, if that doesn't work for anyone individually, put in anybody who has said this, because it comes up a lot. Yeah. This is a good example of the kind of things they're saying they want to see in the game that I think is there. You just have to find it. It's an interesting, conundrum.
Yeah.
In this world. And adds shade to this guy who's been like a real prick this whole time, and just finding out they're under this like immense pressure that has nothing to do with the Illuminati, nothing to do with the actual plot of the game, and everything to do with the setting. Yeah, I think is cool.
Everything to do with the social forces, right? Yep. Yeah. No, I mean, there are plenty of criticisms for the world of the game, but something I said back toward the beginning of the episode was like, I feel like the case against augmentations, like the case for oppressing people, is not actually made. Like there's not like a lot of shade outside of like, okay, they went crazy this one time.
Well, it's also a thing too where it's kind of got an X-Men Superhuman Registration Act thing where like, but even more modular, like an X-Man doesn't get to decide whether their power is to blow up, whereas the people who sell augs could just be like, you know what, the typhoon thing that just makes exploding grenades fly around you doesn't really have any purpose other than warfare, blowing up subway stations and shit,
right?
Maybe we don't need to sell that one.
Maybe
like, gun control can solve this.
Yes.
making a lot of people really mad, but like treating it more like that as opposed to a racial difference makes tons more sense. Like there's definitely no moral argument against somebody getting a super spine,
right?
Whereas there can be an argument for somebody being able to shoot their elbow blades out at high velocities.
Yeah. Or like
one's a weapon and one isn't.
Or if it becomes like, all right, well, corporations are super powerful in this, they would before they could hire you, like it is an economic disadvantage to not be augmented. Right. Yes. So, that actually creates a further stratification, like I like that happens in a way that I think like the original Deus Ex handled pretty well. The idea of the Gray Plague or whatever, the nanite thing and the cure being distributed or whatever, like that was a discussion about social forces that wasn't just like everybody decided they're going to be sent to the camps now.
Yeah, it's a lighter touch. Like, and I understand the idea behind saying that the general public wouldn't differentiate that. Yeah, like it's not giving the general public credit, which I agree with usually. Like the general public are dipshits.
Yeah,
but we can handle something as complicated as guns. Like we can handle. We understand the difference between an assault rifle 15 and a hunting rifle.
Right.
Like we know that we can an Uzi and a hunting rifle. We can handle that dichotomy.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where like augmentation would touch so many people's lives in kind of more diffuse ways, than just like, okay, maybe some guy has a throat-seeking blade in their elbow, that, like I would want to see those presented as the case, just to bring a little bit more shade to the world, as opposed to making it so black and white.
They do stuff like that in the background.
Yes,
like a little bit, like they talk about that stuff, but it just doesn't end up being what the game is about, which tends to be the criticism that people have about this. But it's like, I guess I'm just more comfortable with the dissonance that this is also a big AAA video game that wants you to have fun. Like I'm not I'm here to think about these ideas, but I can do that at the same time while also not being forced to be miserable because I'm playing Cart Life.
I'm not saying you should be forced to be miserable or be put into the situation here. I just want more of that discussion about why this has happened, or to, have like side quests relate to some of that stuff that would just, I think, enrich a little bit of this,
I think there's a little bit of that stuff, but there could definitely be more.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, it could be handled with a much defter touch.
Yeah.
Without it turning into a itch.io 5-minute game about the experience.
And when I'm saying, make a better case for sending people to a city where they have to live, I'm not saying like, I just need more convincing on this. Everything they show is everything they show is bad. Like, that is never going to be the answer. It just ends up feeling like kind of undermotivated.
Well, it's too broad a brush. Yeah. Like, somebody doesn't want to limp and they have to go to the death zone. It's real stupid.
Yeah.
And I don't really blame anybody for not being able to get, I guess I do blame people for not being able to get over that, because like I feel like people should have a sophistication of brain enough to understand the dissonance of like, yeah, but I also am playing a video game that is trying to be fun as well.
Yeah.
Like that's just not an uncomfortable space for me to play in. It can be with things that do it and they suck, like it is in BioShock Infinite, when it's like, there's the only difference between blobbity bloop and blankety bloop is how they spell their names and all of that stuff. Like, that feels evil to me. Like, if something is actively malicious about that shit, it can bother me. If something just doesn't give it the attention that would be ideal, it's much easier for me to overlook.
I'm also not calling for the game to be made less fun either. I don't think that those are at odds with each other.
No, I don't feel like you are. I'm not making up a guy, but I am talking to a guy who's not on the podcast.
Gotcha.
Who's a conglomeration of several guys. Like that joke that makes me laugh against my will with Gary Busey in The Simpsons, where he's like, that guy was me, and the girl was a conglomeration of 15 different women in 3 different independent film studios.
Jesus.
Or a composite. It's a dark joke, but that always makes me laugh.
It's a very dark joke. Yeah,
incredibly dark.
We get some calls. Like, we're getting all these check-ins, like establishing some of the quests here for the middle portion of the game. Seraph calls saying like, hey, the person who did your mystery ogs, this Victor Orlov guy, he's in Prague. And the second call is saying like, it's from Otar saying, hey, you need to do another favor here. There's someone at the Red Queen that you need to talk to for me. The Red Queen being this brothel in the Red Light District.
Do this favor and we'll be even. So we talked to Smiley. Smiley says the bomb's timing mechanism was a mechanical wristwatch, a Stanek. It's a Stanek watch. It's a good fedora. They're made locally, and we know the creator's address.
Right.
When we leave this headquarters, there's a big explosion. The Stanek shop blows up.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
Oh boy. So I went toward towards Stanek's apartment. The front door had been pried open, but there was nobody inside. And it takes some smart vision and some exploring to get around to this secret room that's off of his bedroom that has what looks like bomb making equipment in it.
Yeah. When you hack the computer here to get into it, there's messages about this guy's mentally ill daughter being turned out onto the street, and warnings from Radich, the current Diwali crime family boss, warning him about getting wrapped up with the wrong people.
Yes. And when you go to leave the room, a video message plays from Radich saying, hey, you really should have taken my warning. And then poison gas starts flooding through. You were in a death trap.
Do this little escape from this death trap. You can't get out of the clock room where every surface is covered with a clock. Like, so you have to get in. He has some vents that are covered up under his desk because, again, nobody understands vents. They put a bunch of banker's boxes in front of them.
Right. Yeah.
And the messages have this possible location where Stanek might be, hiding out from the Diwali.
Yeah. So because I did this quest first, I find Stanek alive. He is down in the basement of this bar called the Irish Stool, which is a ghastly name.
I really hate that name.
Yeah.
That's as somebody who's had a big drinking party with car bombs. You know, like it's not great.
But you find standing down there with his just look up like a picture of this guy. He has a 7-way comb over. It is fantastic.
It's very good.
Yeah.
He did not make the bombs.
Nope.
His daughter did, who got in too deep.
Yeah.
She was augmented to work bomb disposal with the military, but dishonorably discharged after the incident. Again, that kind of a little bit of shade, right? Like it wasn't her fault, but she got kicked out. So she fell in with some augmented friends who were talking about this thing called the Ascension. And that's who she probably made the bomb for. He won't tell you where she is, but we keep him under observation. We talk to people outside, agents, who will hang out outside the Irish stool.
Jesus. Mm-hmm. The other quest here is to go in and check out Miller's apartment. We already kind of talked about that. But the big thing that we find, in addition to those details about his daughter, but we find his neural subnet access card.
Yes. So we can ultimately go do that. Mm-hmm. When we have that, we go talk to Alex near TF29 to get this new update with this VersaLife break-in that we were talking about, and give her the evidence from Rucker's safe, which I did, about the plant. Again, you can keep it for yourself if you like. Yeah. And she says a VersaLife researcher was found dead not long ago, apparently with a similar poison to what got Rucker, a fox dye. Janice says, Jensen says, why do we trust this Janice? Like, you're putting this on faith.
Yeah.
This is really convenient. I've never talked to him. You've never talked to him. He always has the answer. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Just pretty convenient. So the plan for Miller, we need to go into the neural subnet using his access card and hear the rest of that conversation that we hacked earlier. Like, we only got the audio version. We don't really know who was on the other side of that.
Yeah, there's a record of it. They'll be there. And when we're in there, I like that this isn't going to be a thing where you are in trouble. Like you say, what happens if somebody comes in there? And she's like, well, they probably won't because it's not meeting time. But if they do, you're going to appear as him. Yeah. You're using his card. That's what creates your avatar in the Matrix.
You're in it's his avatar. And I hate that his avatar is just him.
Yep. It's just not very fun.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were at the Illuminati, if you came in as fucking Gritty, or whatever, they probably wouldn't be that into it.
It came in with Grady with a huge dong.
Yeah, like if you're Grady with a button penis and huge balls, I can only imagine that the Bob Page has something to say about that.
Yeah, something about your professionalism.
So you go in and we do this virtual realm.
Yeah.
This reminds me a lot of the virtual realms we did in Fallout 4, if you recall, but a better version of it.
Yeah.
This is the same overlay that's in something called Breach, which I didn't realize this until doing research for the show, is story based. It's kind of VR missions. Yeah, there's a narrative to it. You're playing as a hacker that you play in, that you meet in one of the DLCs.
Huh.
So I guess I haven't played all the DLCs for this because I assumed Breach was just a multiplayer mode because you can create challenges for other players. It's this asynchronous multiplayer thing, but this is basically the single player execution to show you what Breach is.
Yeah, it's neat. Like I got no problem with it. Like it's fun to do these kind of simple remote hacking puzzles and make your little pathway. Yeah.
Like figure out how to activate these nodes. Yeah. Once you activate the nodes, the conversation plays where Miller is talking to Manderley, his boss, and telling him to pin everything on Arc, and Miller's pissed.
Yeah.
Like he's outraged about this. After he leaves, Manderley patches in Bob Page to update him. Page orders the use of the Orchid on Rucker to move on to phase 2.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. Just we need to move to phase 2. Use the Orchid.
I love phase 2. So Jensen tells Alex, he's like, listen, I'd like to give this report to Janice directly.
Right.
This is ridiculous. I don't trust all this shit.
Right. Yeah. So we leave the neural subnet room and we walk in on Dr. Hazen, the psychologist, typing on Miller's computer.
I love this. She's like, what are you doing here? And you can be like, what are you doing here? It's very funny. And it works. She doesn't want to answer that.
Right.
Very early on hinting that if you didn't hack her computer, early on hinting that she's up to no good.
Yeah, I love this because you'll talk to her and she says like, "Hey, can you?" It starts another quest basically. Says, "Hey,
Yes.
there's this person we lost track of," but when you leave the room, you can, if you stick around, you can hear her like panicked on the phone talking to somebody.
Yep. Yep. Really cool.
Yeah.
She wants you to go. She's trying to contact this agent named Black, who went undercover of the Diwali crime family and went dark. They haven't heard about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can also express some suspicions because she refers to Manderley as Joe.
Yeah.
He's not fucking Joe. It's Manderley.
Nobody calls him Joe. It doesn't even happen in Deus Ex 1.
Nope.
But she's good cover. Right. She covers up for it. So the side quest here, fade to black. This agent with the Diwali, Vince Black, has gone missing. We go to search his office for clues about where he went, and we find that he bought a train ticket to Berlin for an informant, this mafia wife who is going to turn on her husband.
Right.
So we go to a meeting that Black had arranged at the Red Queen, which is this brothel, with the wife, and the wife is very cagey because there are two Diwali guys just staring at her.
Right.
Waiting, and she does the thing in spy movies I love, where like pretend to kiss me so I can whisper in your ear.
Yeah, it's like they expect me to cheat, but they don't want a strange, obvious operative.
Yeah, something I like. Got to hand it to him. Something I want to point out about the Red Queen is that it's a brothel and there are strip clubs and stuff. There are all kinds of different body types.
Yes,
on display, which feels very forward looking to me.
Yeah,
like of course there'd be like a big person.
Course.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you go and meet her in this courtyard where some Diwali hitmen hired her husband, try to kill her there. You save her, and she gives you the location and code for her husband's smuggling ring in exchange for that ticket to Berlin. If you never got that ticket you can also give her money. Yeah. And this is being run out of a storage locker.
Yeah, you open up and there's a little basement, like there's a door to a cellar there, and there's not evidence down there. Well, there probably is evidence. More importantly, there's a woman. There's this augmented woman who is paying them to be smuggled out of Prague.
Yeah.
And you're not really able to have like that much of a conversation with her to say, hey, you know that these guys do human trafficking, right?
It's like, I really like the way this articulates, because you can say that to her a little bit and she's like, yeah, but I have to get out.
Yeah.
Like, yes, human trafficking fucking sucks, but I don't see another way to get out of this.
Right. This is my only option.
These people are assholes, but they're providing a service that is actually really needed that you cannot get elsewhere.
Right. Yeah.
It's the only game in town.
Yeah.
And this is interrupted. She's begging you to leave. She's like, they told me to come alone.
Mm-hmm.
If they see me with you, that's going to fuck up the deal and I'm going to be killed.
Right.
Like, I can't afford to do this again. Please leave. And you can't leave in time before this guy comes in. The husband comes in. This douchebag.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in there. Does this happen for you that he came in? Because it doesn't always work that way.
So he came in. The smuggler comes in. He's really agitated. He doesn't like unexpected things, and he's on this power trip. I had to casey him to convince him to continue the deal, saying like, "Hey, I just came here to say goodbye." That kind of thing. Obviously, you see through it, but just kind of like, no, the deal goes on. Like, she needs to get out. Like,
you can also apply or appeal to his self-preservation. Like, you could kill me, but it's going to make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
There's, I don't like thinking of Jensen as being a badass, but there's a badass line.
Okay.
Where he's just like, I could kill you without making noise. And you can be like, I assure you, if we fight, I'm going to make a lot of noise. Like, which it sounds really badass, even though it could just be he's going to scream or set up his dubstep og to just like loudly. But you convince him like it's for your best interest just to let us all walk away and do the deal. Later, she'll reach out to you and be like, yeah, I got to Golden City. I made it my mission to save her because I fucked up her deal. It was my fault. I want to fix it.
Yeah. But she knows the what happened to Black. Like, hey, Black was the one who took the money for my deal, but he fell out with the smuggler leader. And you can kind of follow the back trail, go to the previous meeting site, which is Black's shithole basement apartment, and you find him dead. Yeah,
God, it's gross. He died. There's a stiletto heel, a red stiletto. There. So whoever got him was the stiletto killer that we don't know about.
Yep.
When we go replay the favor for the woman we talked to the owner of the Red Queen, which is a woman named Masa Kadlak, who has one of the more mechanically complicated things you have to do in the game. I think she wants you to, there's a member of the family who's causing problems for her, Dominic, who is related. She does not want him to die. He's being kept in this Diwali safe house. You have to extract a dude, knock him out and get him out of this apartment complex that's really deep in Diwali territory.
Yeah.
Knock him out, identify him. He has a distinctive tattoo. Like he doesn't get a quest marker. We just have to like lock onto him first, knock him out, and then drag him into a storage locker. Yeah.
Which wrestling the corpse dragging physics in this game, fuck that.
You drop people all the time. Playing Dishonored 2 right after this just really made me wish you could pick people up rather than like ragdoll drag them by a specific point.
Yeah.
It's funnier that you can do that. And like when you want to like toss people into the river or whatever,
I mean, more fun, heaven forbid there is a small barrier between you and what you need to do, because you cannot throw somebody over anything.
Nope. Yeah, it takes many tries to do it. It's pretty silly. This, I imagine this being a nightmare if I ended up taking everyone out. Like if there were still Diwalis who were conscious, I couldn't do this.
No.
Everybody had to get knocked out.
Yeah, no, I had to knock him out because like I came in through the upper floors. Kind of through an alley there, and that's how I got back out, was gingerly dropping him off of a roof awning. But he's on the bottom floor. Like for me, he was on the bottom floor of like an apartment off the courtyard. But it was fun to go through and sleep everybody. Yeah,
they all got to go. There are civilians here as well. They have sex workers hanging out with them there. So you get him out. Seraph has learned that the person who designed your mystery Augs, Vadim Orlov, is in Prague, as we mentioned. We can go to his apartment to learn about him. We go there, he's dead. He's been shot, and his email shows that he was working on nanotech augmentations. He was in Prague to work with somebody named Madame Photograph.
Yes.
For surveillance. This is the person who is following you, who is assigned by the Illuminati to keep an eye on you, who is in the opening cutscene.
Right.
Yeah. Pretty cool little detail.
Yeah, no other info for now. There will be a small check-in in the final chapter.
Yes.
Another side quest here. This is really subtle. I had to like see this on a wiki and see how to start it.
Yeah, it's very subtle, but it's cool. Yeah. Like it's a pretty cool idea. As you're walking through the city, one of the advertisements will talk to you.
Yeah.
Like this advertisement will start glitching and psst, not quite, but
well, it shows images of Panchaea too.
Yeah. Like, which is some Jacob's Ladder shit, or I would assume so if I was Jensen, especially if I had mechanical eyes. You get there and this AI named Hell contacts you and says, "Hey, can you recover my data?" She's very cryptic. She's like, "I knew you from before." She flashes imageries. We don't know exactly who this is.
Yeah.
So we go to the place where she's at, and there are some men in black from Picus who were sent to break in. We go grab her data disk, her floppy.
Yeah, this antique floppy. There's also an order, like this is a story beat thing. There is an order on a PDA saying like, "Hey, one of the people we're working with, his name is Walker. We need to kill him because he's starting to ask too many questions." Yeah. So this will be another way to resolve the quest a little bit later. You can't do anything with this disk because no modern machine will read a floppy. So you have to go to this antique electronics store and talk to basically the Deus Ex version of Steve Smith from American Dad. Just this fucking nerd.
I love this. This reminds me of a little bit of Bloodlines, like the prosthetics guy, the guy with the barely plausible cover.
Yep.
Who's a real psychopath. He's Walker. And there's a couple different ways you can do this. If you tell him, you figure out he's Walker, you can be like, "Hey, there's a hit on you." He'll give you the reader and leave. If you don't do this, he'll say, "Yeah, you can go scrounge around the basement for it." And he comes up and puts a gun to you and has filled the basement with traps. EMP grenades to even out your EMP, your AUG advantage here. And it kind of becomes like a little miniature boss fight in an interesting arena. Even though you can turn invisible and put your throat-seeking blade through him instantly.
Yeah, the EMP eventually wears off. All you have to do is survive.
He's a nerd. Or chug an energy cell.
Yeah. So he's I also like he says the wrong business name for it as well, and that's what you can hone on and say, hey, what's this place called again?
It's real good. I like this a lot. You take the reader to your apartment and learn that this is a version of the Eliza Kassan AI that was used to run the ending machine, the Hiron machine at Pangaea. We mentioned her when we went into Picus in the first one. We found her and she was a hologram. She was an AI. And she's asking you for, this is an artificial intelligence, like the first artificial intelligence that's gained sentience in this world.
Yes.
This is ultimately going to end up tying into Deus Ex 1 in a lot of ways, which as your Daedaluses and your Icaruses and such. And she's saying like, you know, what should I do with this? Like, do I need to rebel? Do I need to, and you can just be like, hey, you're an AI now. Part of that is making your own decisions.
Yeah. Say like, hey, you have to decide what you're going to be, which is fun in this game of hot choice.
Yeah. Doing that, you know, makes it pay off later. There's a side quest called The Harvester, which I like quite a bit. A reporter was murdered near your apartment there. The police were told not to investigate too closely because they're trying to drive out her PMC husband, Johnny Gunn.
Yeah. PMC being private military contractor, not professional managerial class.
Yes. He's related to, what's the name of the shitty PMC that's in this? Yeah, Bell Tower, who has just rebranded. One of the missions you go on in the DLC is with their new thing where it's basically like you can see the stickers peeling over the Bell Tower logos, basically.
Basically exactly what happened with Blackwater.
Exactly. And you meet a character who I really like, this detective who's here, who is in charge of this, like a couple days from retirement, but doesn't seem like a bad dude.
Yeah.
You know, like I like this voice acting performance. I like this character a lot.
Yeah.
They put this old horse on the case because they don't really want it to be solved.
Right.
You know, her being augmented as well.
Yeah. It's just he says it's a joke. Yeah.
Yep. He'll look the other way while you investigate. So you have to collect evidence there. And one of the pieces of evidence is a witness, your neighbor, Daria. She won't talk to the cops, but she'll talk to you. I broke into Daria's apartment. Daria, first of all, loves cats. There are cat stuff everywhere. But she has a telescope pointed directly at your apartment.
A little much.
I liked that foreshadowing. I was like, what is this person doing?
Yeah, I'm just saying little much on her part.
Yeah.
It's just rear windowing you.
She's totally like finding this person who's rear windowing me, and then like 10 hours later finding out why it was cool.
Yeah. I didn't know it was her apartment until I had to go back to it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because she goes to the phantom zone where people go when you're playing the game and they leave their house.
Yeah. She only provides a little bit more information than you can gather yourself by looking at Angela's corpse and by using your smart vision to pick up the evidence. The evidence all shows that Angela's augments were forcibly removed. Like her body is lying there and her legs are gone. And there's evidence she was EMP'd and then tranquilized before the augments were kind of ripped out.
Yep. So we go talk to Johnny Gunn, and Johnny Gunn's a huge dick. Yep. Him and Angela recently divorced. He's a huge alcoholic. He's an asshole. He's probably got to go, but he's not the guy.
Right.
And we can find this out because we talked to him about his experience with Bell Tower. He served in the Australian Civil War, and his hands were made of this alloy. That were made. He can't leave fingerprints, and there was a partial print on Angela's neck, but he's not capable because he was augmented.
Yeah.
We can go to the detective and be like, yeah, he's not the guy. And the detective is pissed because his bosses really want him to pin him on
there's no closure here. There's we can't close out this case, and we didn't get our guy. So
we'll have to come back later and do this.
Yeah. And he says, like there's this detail about the needles. There have been other cases that have involved that, where eventually this is a quest we're going to come back to. Yes. But there's other stuff that says there's a bigger pattern at work here.
Yes. So going back to the main quest, we go to this abandoned subway station to meet with Janice. He's on a video link, but his appearance, his features shift like he's in the black or white video by Michael Jackson.
I mean, it's a super cool effect. It's basically what is it's what is described in the book version of A Scanner Darkly, and portrayed poorly in the movie version. Even though I love that movie, yeah,
it's really neat.
Yeah,
he knows Paige. He identifies Paige and says, like, how the evidence that you have, we have so far, is not even close enough to touch Paige. You know? There's some information you can get from the storage box at Palisades that could reveal something about the orchid. And this sets up one of the missions we can do. This call is interrupted because drones flood the station to flush you out. These man hack kind of things, except they shoot. Shoots.
Man shoots.
Yeah.
Shoot mans. Yeah.
Shoot mans, because they shoot men.
Yeah.
And dogs alike.
So I escaped through this, then through the sewer. The sewer tunnels have been trapped as well with poison gas mines. And when you get out, Nomad Stanek, he calls saying, "Hey, some goons are coming for my daughter, for the bomb maker." And just you get to the station, and Alex radio saying, VersaLife is closing down all of their accounts and moving things away from Palisades. We only have a limited amount of time here. You need to make a choice. Are you going to go after the person who made the bombs and follow that case, or are you going to go after VersaLife? Or are you going to go after the information about the orchid?
The first time I played it, I went and did the heist. So this time I did the other one. I went to the bomb maker one.
I want to hear about this.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's a rare thing in a game where one mechanical choice like this is vastly superior to the other one.
Okay.
Going after the VersaLife thing and getting the cure is way better for the good ending.
Okay.
Of the game than this thing. You go and we find this cult to a singularity cult.
Yeah.
And go through their compound. We've seen stuff about this cult before. They were handing out flyers in our courtyard. We sneak in and you infiltrate this cult and take everybody out.
Of course.
Basically, it's just an apartment dungeon in Deus Ex, a good one, but apartment dungeon. Taking them out. You get to the top and you meet the bomb maker, and she is a true believer in this singularity cult. That is why she is participating in this terrorism. That's there. The individual, I'm a little bit fuzzy because I played this a while back because I got ahead for the game. So I'm trying to remember exactly what she said. The main thing I remember from it is this awesome image of this machine god thing they worship, which is a bunch of monitors in this tower, in the middle of a room.
Ooh.
That are glowing. It's really cool looking. But I talked her out of it, and that was it. She got arrested.
Okay.
And she gives you mechanically, you get a little device that'll interfere with the bomb she makes.
Okay.
So in the last mission, you can increase your time limit that you have for when the bombs go off.
There we go.
With this thing.
Yeah.
It's just a subplot to this cult that has been going through. It doesn't apply very much to the main mission.
Yeah. It seems more meaningful to story and broad lore wise to get into VersaLife's
100%
vault.
Yeah. This is a side thing at best. It's neat again, and the image is really cool. The thing that you go into, the cult tower of Singularity, the machine god idea that they're worshiping is really neat. This idea of merging.
Nice.
Makes sense with the themes of the game. But
how is it that can be so cool in fiction, but people who believe in the fucking singularity in real life are just the worst?
Hey, welcome to sci-fi, man.
Yeah.
I'm saying that flippantly, but it's kind of true. Anybody who goes real deep on any of these sci-fi futurism concepts.
Yeah.
One of the secrets that we had to all learn is that the idea of a real life Tony Stark fucking sucks.
Yup.
It would be awful.
Yeah, the Twitter makes everything worse. Yeah,
even outside of Twitter, I can't blame the platform. It's just a shitty attitude. If I met any of the people who believe in this shit at a bar, I would also think they suck.
Yeah. Transhumanism is such a cool idea.
I'm similar to my I'm happy to have video games. I think I'm just real happy to let a lot of sci-fi just be fi.
Yeah.
It's still cool. I just never want to actually have it, and it won't, because I'm going to die before then. It's great. I'm not going to have kids, and I'm not going to have to see this shit.
Nothing,
It's awesome.
Nothing about you is going to have to see the day.
Yep. It's pretty phenomenal. And even if it comes out during my life, I won't be able to afford it. And I will just quietly putter around with my comics and video games and then shovel off.
Yeah. Oh man. So I'll talk about the heist. This is awesome. Like anything with the Palisades base is really, really good.
It's super good. What's cool about this one, so if you the cult compound you can go to, if you don't go save the bomb maker, you can go there and everyone's dead.
Okay.
I think they've all basically Jonestown themselves.
Okay.
To merge. You still locate the place, but there's no gameplay there. Here, you can just go to the bank anytime you want.
Yeah.
The VersaLife section that you go to, which is really cool and has a bunch of information, is not open until this mission. But all the other stuff in the bank, all the incidental shit, you can go do. And there are like praxis kits and stuff. There's stuff you want.
Yeah. But Janice, they left a package in the trunk of the Palisades CEO's car in the parking garage, which is just a real like
alpha move,
checkmate kind of thing. But you break in there, that's like a small little dungeon of itself. To get in there and get the things that you need, you have to get into her office, which I did before. Like I just followed this is the path that I did when I did that previous side quest for Samizdat. But you get in there and you have to fake a biometric profile so you can get into the basement where the vaults are, but it's very heavily guarded. You have to go through an entrapment room full of lasers and shit to get through. Yeah. Like you can either just be like really good at timing your pathway through, or you can remote hack stuff and shut it down temporarily. But you get to the vault, and instead of being like a big array of rooms that I go to the right one, you call the vault down to you. It's like this big elevator that brings down the vault with the proper stuff. And the VersaLife vault comes down, and Jaina starts piping out all of the digital contents. Yeah.
I know that from the first time I played this, there's an interesting thing you can find here. Did you find the evidence or the suggestion that Jensen's a clone that you can find here?
I did. I didn't know what to make of it. I know there's that detail at the end, but it is very hard to reconcile.
I think it's very similar to the same thing that ends up happening in Deus Ex 2. When you go through there, like anytime there's a super augmented agent, it's engineered. It's been engineered. In terms of like the grander lore, that's the biggest reveal. Here.
Yeah, didn't know what to make of it. But the kind of for the story of this game and for Jensen's story, at least of what he's aware of, there's this audio file of his ex, Megan Reed, who after she was forced to leave Seraph, went and worked with VersaLife. And she is reporting to Bob Page talking about the development of the Orchid, which is happening at this facility in Switzerland called the GARM.
Yes. All roads point to GARM. Tim and Eric ass name. The thing you can hear mechanically is the cure for Orchid, aka Ambrosia, because Orchid is the rough draft for the Grey Death.
Oh, weird. Is it nanite?
I believe so.
Okay.
There's when I was looking on the wiki, they talk about obscure connections. Like I like reading emails in Deus Ex games, but I don't have unlimited gas for it. So near the last third or so of any of these games, I kind of start skimming real hard, and I miss the specifics.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, this is setting up that.
Yeah. The implication here is you have to find out about the neutralizing enzyme just from emails, but like, oh, Megan, she broke bad. She's working with these monsters and making poison. That ends up not being the case.
Yes. Yeah. Regardless of which one you do, when you get back, Miller calls and he's pissed. He's either pissed because you're not working on the bombing, or he's pissed because you did this thing, but you didn't kill the bomber, which what he's mad at me because I didn't. He wants you to meet at Chicane's helipad there. And this is when Kohler will install your neuroplasticity inhibitor, in allowing you to activate your augments. When you go to Miller, you can disclose to him to your degree, and we still are not sure how much to trust Miller.
Right.
It doesn't seem like, at this point I was pretty convinced he's not really in on it, but it doesn't matter because it could be dangerous even if he's not in on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if he's under control, even if he's unwitting, that's something you want to have information.
Right. Yeah. I just give it to my friend who talks to an unaccountable anonymous person.
Yeah, it seems legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jacane is going to we're going to the Garm.
Yeah.
Welcome, Garm.
Welcome, Garm.
Yeah.
And you're dropped off in this real 2002 PC game, Snowy Valley.
It's incredible.
This Tribes-esque Snowy Valley. It's great.
It's really fun. I'm glad you pointed that out. Like, I was gonna it reminded me of the end of Deus Ex 2, like when you're in the Antarctic. Like, it's real silly. Or that one level in the beginner's guide.
Yeah.
You go up to the cabin. You walk up to the facility and hack the door open. It's a level 1 hack. You can always tell level 1 hacks are the ones that the game, there's no other way to get through. Yeah. You know? And as soon as you open, Marchenko is just standing there and fucking punches you in the face.
Knock, open up the door.
Yeah, and then doses you. You get orchided.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it seems like real bad news. It turns out the same thing that stops you from needing neuropozyne is going to stop the orchid from working on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, you get this cutscene, you're kind of nearing unconsciousness, and these gold mask mercenaries are dragging you to a junkyard, and you overhear Marchenko talking about returning to Prague to get the Diwali up to their timeline, to move up the timeline for when they're going to act. And he mentions Nathaniel Brown, this executive who has been kind of mentioned in the margins.
Yes.
Like, he stands to benefit financially if the UN's anti-aug measure passes. Like, everybody's been talking about this HRA, this Humanity Restoration Act, which would kind of systematize this oppression globally by herding augmented people into these mega cities.
And he's apparently he's been talking in a game about making one of these mega cities that is actually like a paradise.
Yes, in Oman. Yeah.
We're gonna find out this is not the case.
Right.
So because he's an idiot video game villain, Marchenko didn't like double tap us.
Right.
He assumed your guy's dead. So we wake up and we have to sneak out of the Garm through these hangars and industrial rooms with these special mercenaries who are augmented.
Mm-hmm.
This is hard.
Oh, very hard.
Yeah, this is tough. There's a lot of open sight lines to this. And there are enemy snipers. They can also, this takes away or reduces your nobody looks up stealth because they will jump. They have super jumps and they will do hops up onto areas to look in on you.
Yeah.
So
I
find hard Deus Ex fun.
Yes.
This works for me. But it is a big difficulty spike.
Yeah. Well, there's a way to circumvent it, which is what I ultimately did. There's one tunnel you can go through that has just a timing puzzle, basically. Like, you got to walk through these lasers so that so they don't trip you. Walk through when they're off. But there's also, like, you can do this little puzzle. I didn't realize what this was for until I read about this a little bit later. You can do this little ice drilling thing to clear a path that will, like, cut you basically near the end. But the trick is, when you do this, people don't expect anything to be happening with that drill. So somebody, like, contacts you and, like, you can try and pull rank on them. You can say, hey, the last person who did this did it wrong. They nearly killed everybody.
Unsafe. Yeah. And they were like, oh shit. Like, I like to think that I'm more skeptical than that, but that would totally work on me.
Oh yeah.
If I was somewhere with a big drill, they're like, hey man, I just made it so you wouldn't die. Like, thanks.
Yeah.
That's cool. Please shoot me in the back, sir. Like, please use your throat blade on me. I gotta go. I'm an idiot. And I got a mask and I'm evil. So please, I gotta go.
It's just gonna happen. Yeah.
When we get back to the helipad, Chicane is flying back. Alex calls, like, it's gonna take me forever to get a ride. You're like, I got a ride.
All
right. News has come out. About Golem City, about Rucker dying. So there are riots in Prague, and Prague is now under martial law. Yeah.
You will be shot on sight. And when you leave the puppet shop, you get back here, you see the police gunning this guy down who was running away, and they're initially shocked, like, oh, like, he wasn't even augmented, why did he run? And they justify it themselves. This is, full on fascist shit. Like, oh, a true citizen would respect the lockdown. right?
Yes.
Like, just no, this is the citizen starts getting really wobbly.
Yeah, it starts getting fascist.
Yeah.
So Prague and lockdown. This obviously to me drew parallels to the final chapter of Prey when the military shows up in Prey.
Mm-hmm.
What I like about this is a mixed bag for me. What I like about it is that the first 2/3 of the game or 3/4 of the game, you are getting to know Prague.
Mm-hmm.
Like Prague ended up being a space I knew really well. Like I could draw a map of it.
Yes.
And testing that knowledge under duress, I think, is a really cool game design thing. You've been moving through here sneakily because you've been breaking into shit and doing these quests. What if you have to?
Yes.
You know, take away the bumpers.
I know the back way into my apartment. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
The thing that bothers me about this is not that I think it's hard or unfair, which is what I felt about the Prey version of this. It's that it gets tedious.
That's the thing.
What was the most expeditious thing to do would be to turn on invisibility and sprint and then just craft my unlimited biocells, you know, because I had all the crafting materials, which just ended up feeling like a time tax.
Yeah.
Like a time and resource tax. The first time I went through, it was really fun to like take the space and recontextualize it as hostile. It just requires too much going back and forth. This is the last fourth of the game where a bunch of people like will only talk to you in your apartment.
Yep.
That drove me fucking nuts. This. Like I was like, we have comlinks.
Like they're compromised.
Yeah, call me now.
Yeah.
You know, this is ridiculous. Like I have to do this little chore. And it made me think that the developers really wanted you to engage with this as a hostile space, but I got enough of it.
Yeah, no, I so many times that I had to cross the city, and that I mean, like literally cross. Like there is no bridge that goes under that goes over the river, so you have to get in and out of the different subway stations and watch the loading cinematic of Denton just walking down the tracks.
Yeah,
because the trains aren't running anymore.
It's a real cool turnaround because he's such. Even when no one's watching, he has to look real cool because he's God's perfect fucking dipshit.
Yeah, and just like I just ended up crossing and going to the same places so often. It was like it's basically doing the same dungeon 6 times in a row.
It really made me want fast travel, which previous to this I would not have wanted fast travel.
There was no game that needed fast travel less than this.
Yeah, because the travel was a joy. I mean, maybe Spider-Man, you know, for you know, like, but it's similar to that. Like the travel was a joy. Like this is a space that is very fun to be in.
Yeah.
I just think they overplayed their hand with making you crisscross too much.
Yes, agreed.
You know, the first time I did it, I thought it was very fun. You know, the first time I was like sneaking around a city I knew really well.
Yeah.
So we meet Alex in the basement of the limb clinic. Give her the sample that Marchenko gave you, the orchid that he put in you. And she's going to have Juggernaut scientists analyze it. So eventually they can have a cure. We get an SOS from Samizdat in the sewers. So we can go down there and we meet Little K, the old lady, who is now Big K, because it's that kind of structure. The old Big K, Jarek, has been captured by the police along with Bones, another one of the people, in a makeshift street jail.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, you know, he's burned. He's not going to be able to do stuff. He needs to be able to leave the country. Right. And so like you need to go and break them out of prison and give them these ID papers so they can cross borders, so they can get out of here. Yeah.
The forger who we helped earlier has fallen in with them, which is good for her.
Yeah.
We get to the temporary police station, you know, Jensen our way through, let the hackers out, and we find we can give them uniforms so they sneak their way out.
There are multiple different ways to do this. You can just say, hey, like, hang back and I will deal with these guys. You can also say guns a-blazing, man.
Yep. And they'll do it. They'll grab weapons and be like, hell yeah, let's go loud.
Yeah. But I dressed them up like police, and they just, it was actually super easy because they just auto path finding found the way to go where nobody would see them. So I just followed them.
It's not an escort.
Yeah.
They just know how to do it.
Yeah.
And so we had to meet with Miller. We had to get over to TF-29 headquarters with to sneak in there. The psychologist is there. She wanted to be underground because of trauma from the incident from before.
Yeah.
You know, it's she figured this is safer from home.
Yeah. And she can tell you, like, you can talk about the incident. She says like, oh, you know, I was counselor for the limb clinic at the time, and I was counseling this 13-year-old girl who, when the signal went out, she started attacking me, and she was able to protect herself, but this girl jumped to her death out of the window, which, was obviously a lot to deal with.
It's weird too, because then she winks and goes, "That was a fail."
FML, am I right?
Yeah, it's very surprising that it took this term. I love the future of the Deus Ex Presents where nobody does abbreviations.
I know, right?
Like that. Like imagine Jensen saying "lol." His throat wouldn't make the noise.
Nope.
He has augments to prevent it. It would contract.
The lol, they lo, they lo.
Just be like, laugh out loud. So,
oh my god,
we talked to Miller, and we're like, "Hey man, the fix has been in from the start, motherfucker. Like, they knew I was coming to Garm. This is all fucked up." And he lets it slip out that Manderley was the one who assigned you to TF-29 in Prague.
Yeah. So you say like, yeah, no, like they're like just these people. They're working with Diwali. And he starts this process to do a search warrant of their headquarters, this old theater. But like, oh, their human rights are going to take time. We're going to need to go there and, like, just let me at them, chief.
Yeah. So we're going to head there. But on the way to, when we leave headquarters, Daria, the Catwoman who's been spying on you, the crime scene calls and says, "He's here. You have to save me. I'm about to be harvested."
Yeah.
So we go to our apartment building there, and the detective is smoking or snooping around outside Daria's door. He can't get in, even though I opened this up. She just locked it again, which nobody ever does.
Oh, he's a vampire. He needs to be invited.
Yeah,
it's unrelated. You have to read the email.
Man, a fat bald vampire. I was already very happy with a fat vampire, but like, ooh, baby. He says he has a hunch. He's like, there are, more killings. They've all resembled the old harvester killings.
Yes.
Down to details that were never made public, like an old serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk to him. You can do this in a couple different ways. You can say you suspect him. You can say, let me look around. You can say like, listen, this is the same thing you were trying to do with Johnny Gunn.
Yeah.
You were going off half cocked and you don't have all the information, which was why I said, he let me check out the apartment building.
Yeah. I said, I suspect you. He said, you need to get some sleep. I'm going to go look for clues elsewhere.
Like, when you get into the apartment, it is now a horror show. There's blood everywhere. No cats. Everything is wrecked.
Yeah. And the evidence that you look around, you find Daria is very unwell. She is obsessed with her dead cat. Like when we get into the police station, you can look and see that she has been emailing them saying like, hey, you need to help me find this cat. It's all that's holding me together. And also there are books and newspapers about the harvester killer here, the original one from a while back. And there are some hypodermic needles in her bathroom showing.
She's of course obsessed with true crime.
Of course. Well, podcasts. Right?
Yeah. So we find out there's an email from a doctor from Taeyong urging her to meet him at this clinic because she had this neural mod done. This Dr. Nick. I did not go and meet Dr. Nick because I was sick of the city tax.
Yeah.
I looked up and I was like, oh, that's another section of the city. Fuck this. That's how you get the good ending for this.
Yes. I went to see Dr. Nick over there. And I press him like he's trying to save himself. Like he wants Daria to be killed and to have her mod ripped out so it doesn't point back to him. But you can get the story. And asking like how can we actually save her? So he was with Taeyong back before the incident. They were doing experiments on mentally unstable people, trying to make them the best version of themselves. And you can say, oh yeah, Taeyong making people better versions of themselves. Nothing could go wrong there. What they were doing was they were taking people who were unwell and they were implanting compensatory traits and memories from volunteers into the subject. So if a person lacks confidence, let's just give you the confidence of somebody else, right?
Yes.
But the volunteers that they got were all prisoners.
They're always doing that in fiction.
Yeah.
Let's make this new line of RoboCops out of criminal brains.
Yeah, it's like, all right, so we merged the psyches and profiles of 7 of the worst serial killers in the world, put it in a shark, gave it a rebreather and mechanical legs.
Yeah.
Why?
Wait, yeah, and that's our new military technology. And it's not, I'm teasing this. Everything fucking does this.
Oh yeah.
It, Resident Evil, comic books, everything is fucking. Let's take the worst person in the world and give them superpowers.
Yeah, I do like this because our volunteers were people who could not technically actually consent to this. That's exploitative capitalism shit. Yeah.
They're all prisoners as well. So she had the harvester killer put in her brain. He tells you the shutdown phrase for her, and he says it's not like magic what happened. She still decided to do all that stuff.
Yes,
it's up to you whether you want to spare her or whatever. I didn't do this. I just went took the trail from her apartment down to the sewers. She's acting tied up, and you can if you know what's up, you can tell her what's up. If not, you can kind of question her. Like she's like, untie me now. And you can be like, we have all that. He's coming back. And you'd be like, we have some time. I need to know who he is and where he's at. Like you can play not dumb, but play like I'm a cop and I'm doing this for real. Like your sense of urgency is false until she breaks and then turns on you.
Yeah.
And it makes kind of a boss battle.
Yes.
If you do it this way.
She has the room trapped. It's kind of like the nerd.
Yes.
But I can say, hey, I know what's up, and I use the code phrase. I love this. So it is not just the prompt isn't just use code phrase. You say use code phrase, and there are three different options that are all real similar. So you can have all the intention in the world to try this, and then you can fuck it up and still do the boss fight. I like that.
Yeah.
It's not a magic word. Dr. Nick was right. She still, is resolved, to kill you and isn't remorseful about this at all. It doesn't take effect immediately. You end up going into this dialogue boss battle with her using your Casey to keep her engaged and not shooting you long enough for the shutdown to fully happen, for the influence to kind of to kind of stop making her point the gun at you, right? And she doesn't want to get away with it or whatever, but it's like, hey, we're going to get you a fair trial, fair trial. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know extenuating circumstances, but he points to head. That seems like a pretty big one. So
it's if you don't do this, if you take her out in the boss fight, which I did, and I did non-lethally, when you come out, the detective is drawn on you and he thinks you are the killer.
Oh, yeah.
He lays out a pretty compelling case for it.
Yeah.
It does seem like you are the guy and you have to talk him down. You get into a boss dialogue fight with him.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. It's super cool. God, Deus Ex games, the cool thing to do, accounting for different ways things can happen.
Yeah.
Love it. Seraph, the mystery Augs thing doesn't really happen anything. They just need you to go back to your apartment. Seraph says, go back to your apartment so I can talk to you there. You do that. And he's looked into the facility where you're taken and you're not on any records.
Right.
Or on any recovery records. You were a John Doe. And you're like, well, that seems fine. He's like, not really, because all your parts are traceable. You're the least John Doe dude there is.
Yeah.
Anybody would be able to look at you and know exactly who you are if they had you under the knife. Excuse me.
Yeah. Your arms have serial numbers, dude.
Yeah. You are trackable.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, we can't draw any conclusions. Then that's about it. That's with Orlov dead, it's it's a dead end.
He ends up saying Orlov appeared with the name McFadden. I think McFadden might be the guy who helps you in the DLC for the first one.
Okay.
I think it might be that guy.
Okay.
So it's something connected to that still doesn't have an end to it. But I think it's tying into the DLC that was misguidedly placed in the middle of Deus Ex Human Revolution.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So Seraph doesn't know what it is. You don't know what it is. That's the end. This would be followed up in the third one if they did it.
Yes.
I'm sure. So we have to go to Diwali territory. On your way there, the AI blows up those cities fixtures to create a distraction, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
If you've been chummy with the Diwali at this point, you can call Otar and be like, now it's time. I need a favor. And you can just be like, I need to get in there and do this. He's like, okay. And it just shuts down this dungeon. Which I think is also really confident.
Yeah.
Having dungeons that you don't need to go through that you can, but also allowing you to, through role playing, just eliminate a gameplay swath because you made the right choices, made allies, not right choices. It's morally compromised. They're human traffickers.
Right. Yeah.
But you made gameplay choices that make these people like you and they act like they like you.
Yeah. It's weird because I did all that stuff, but I must have not made the right choices to ingratiate Otar
to kill
myself.
The guy.
Maybe because I didn't kill the guy. Yeah,
that's my guess. Is he found out or he knew? He says he'll know when he calls you. I don't know how he would, but he's like, do it, I'll know. That's my only guess as to why. But if you toe the line or what have you, he does allow you just to walk through the casino.
Yeah. This is fine. I was happy doing this dungeon because it's a good dungeon like that. It's a whole district of the city you have to cross. Like I had already cleared that apartment and had a way through there, but like you've got to cross and get into this heavily guarded theater. Like I got up on the roof and then worked my way across the mezzanine and like did this awesome stuff up in the balcony and the light booth and then around backstage. Like it's a good dungeon. Yeah.
It's not necessarily a better thing to avoid it. I just like that the game accounts for it.
Yeah.
Regardless of which, when you get in, you can talk to. So that's the other thing too, is Radich at this point, because of my actions, was already gone.
Oh.
Radich was dead and Otar was the guy.
He was the leader. Okay. Yeah.
Otar.
So maybe Otar didn't have the sway.
Yeah, at that point to call down the guards. Like you were friends with Otar, but he was not the leader.
Right.
I don't remember the exact combination of things I did
to
make that happen.
Yeah, no, I got there and I eavesdropped. You listen in, and Otar is trying to convince Radich, hey, like let's not smuggle this stuff to this convention center in London, where this Safe Harbor convention is happening, the Safe Harbor Initiative. And this is what you need. Like this is okay. That's where the Orchid's going to go. Because we know he's working with what's his name, big dumb guy or big smart guy. So you call Alex and say like, the target's Brown. And she had dug up information on him saying like, hey, you need to get back to your apartment because I can't tell you this over the phone.
I can't tell you this here. Please go back to that screen. The Safe Harbor Initiative is that Paradise City for Augs, where the Augs are pretty. We talk to her. We find out this complex that they're making is a sham.
Yeah.
It's not going to be able to handle all these Augs. Basically, the Humanity Restoration Act would send all these Augs here. They got in over their head.
Yes.
He's campaigning against this not because he's evil or what have you, or not because he's good, not because he wants to save Augs. It's because it would ruin him.
Yeah, it's like, his self-interest lines up with doing the right thing.
Yes. And he was trying to, this idea of like, I'm going to make this utopia for Augs that sounded too good to be true was too good to be true.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Orchid, we also find out this, Megan's project was never meant to be a poison. It's just incidentally poisonous. Yeah. It is gene editing. What it would do would cut out the gene that is responsible for augmentation rejection syndrome and replace it with something else, basically turning everybody into a Jensen level.
Can you imagine?
Recipient? Yeah.
What a paradise of a world. Like it's Jensen planet and everyone's a Jensen. Like a baby Jensen. Can you imagine a baby with Jensen's head? A baby that pops out and is like, you never asked for this. He's still covered with baby cheese and blood.
But I think John Lennon wrote that song about that. But until it's finished, it's deadly. It just cuts out that gene, and then you're gone.
Yeah.
So Alex doesn't have a way to get us to London. So we're gonna have to meet Miller at Chicane's.
Yep.
Which means crossing town again,
which is obnoxious.
God damn it.
On the plus side, I love this last dungeon.
It's so good.
Very, very rare that a Deus Ex game does a good final level.
Yeah.
And I say this as it being one of my favorite series of all time. Mm-hmm. This is in London. One cool thing is London, if you look out on the skyscraper, it still has that golden Renaissance aesthetic. Like they're not just using that as this game's aesthetic is dingy. This one is golden. They're saying certain parts of the world have different places. Yeah. We get there, we talk to Brown and he's being, obstinate. Like we're saying, like, listen, there's an attack. He's like, I let your security people do like 6 sweeps. We can't not do this. I'm going to hold the event.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, just listen, meet with my head of security. When you get there, the guy at the security is suspicious as hell.
Yeah.
And we find out, we sneak in to figure out what's up. The real security people have been infiltrated by what's his head? Marchenko's people. Who he is an Illuminati agent, but they think they are the ARG.
Yes,
or ARC rather.
Yeah. Well, there's an ARG to determine that they are not the ARC.
Yes. Yeah, which is AKA Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which you're playing.
But
he spent all his time radioing with McCready there, who is he has a whole team and they're trying to do things and they keep running into problems.
Yeah.
So you need to go. There's a security lockdown you can't get through. You have to get through into the server room to restart the system. And when we do this, we find out the ARC forces have also gotten into catering, have infiltrated catering. We have to get through this high security door, and we have to deal with all of the sleeper agents in this really complicated space that is a mix of public zones where people mingle and private areas you're not supposed to be.
It's a fucking hitman level, man.
It's very Hitman.
Yeah.
You don't disguise or anything, but he will, McCready will put on your map who the guys are you have to take out. The idea of you just being in this level where it's like, hey, you have to take out like 13 dudes in this level without getting caught, without causing all this chaos, was a really, really fun challenge to me.
Yeah. Well, also, you don't have to take all these guys out. Like, there are only certain conditions on which that happens. I think it has to do with whether you raise an alert earlier. Like, I dealt with some of them that were like strictly in my way, but like you can get into some vents and get to the office where the key card is.
Yeah. Well, there's two things you're trying to do here. You're trying to get the key card because you need to get backstage. For some reason, I don't know the dependencies. McCready was saying like you should still clear that out because those guys are going to be like when this. I think that he was saying when this hits the fan. I was going to say shits the fan. Man, I know this is a long episode. Liv told me before that her dad back in the day knew a goat who would press its asshole up against a screen door and shit into a house.
That's a cool goat.
What would you do? Like, that's the end.
You have to burn it down. You have to move.
Like, that's a movable offense. That's like having Jensen come in and move your fridge.
Yeah, that's like,
to go.
Your house is haunted now. That goat is effectively an arsonist, just 2 steps removed.
I know, that goat rules. Like that is some Black Phillip shit, man. Shitting through it, pressing your asshole up against a screen door and shitting.
It's
I would like to do that once before I died.
Do you though?
Kinda.
Do you?
Aren't you curious?
I'm pretty sure what would happen is the thing.
You think so? You've done this Gary's mod?
No, I've not done this Gary's mod. I'm just saying, like, I can pretty much guess. You know?
Okay, what's your guess?
It'd be a big mess, dude. Like, well, also, what did I eat the day before? Well, there are lots of factors.
Goat food.
Well, that's all high fiber shit. Yeah.
You ate the goat who did the fence thing. It's a perfect circle.
Yeah.
It's like poetry.
Hakuna Matata.
Anywho, I think the idea is when this shits the fan, they're going to turn on the guest.
And maybe, I didn't deal with them. Maybe I doomed a bunch of people by not taking them out. But
I don't know. Again, one of the plus sides of the complex interdependencies of these games is that
it's hard to say definitively. Yeah.
He wanted me to take them all out, which was there were a lot of little fun scenarios where people are under a plausible cover. I had to like distract people to make them go to the bathroom or wait for them to go to the bathroom. Took them out. I had one stall with like 6 dudes in it.
There really is a problem with the toilet.
I love that. Like somebody just opened that and be like, "Ooh, I just stepped in the wrong neighborhood." Like there's 6 bodies in this stall. But yeah, you're trying to get this key card here to get through to get in this backstage area. When you get there, we find Miller. Miller has been injected with the orchid.
Yes. He's laying there dying on the floor. Yeah.
The way you get the golden ending is you have to have the cure and you have to use it on Miller here. The golden ending is where everybody survives. All my people survived except for Miller. Miller died, unfortunately, for me, which is considered suboptimal.
Miller died for me. So I didn't realize I could use it on him until I got like partway through the mission and I checked a wiki just to see. and I, say like, okay, like what am I missing here? Like, is there anything basically content that I missed?
Yeah.
Is it okay? You can use that on them. I didn't reload a save because having the cure gives you extra time for the next little part of this. So I was like, the ending that I want has those guys living, so I kept a hold of the vial. I figured, okay, Miller dying, because he was an unknowing cog in this, that feels narratively sound. So
yeah, I like it when you get a narratively unperfect ending in video games. The way that when you get to this next part with the time limit, that's also what the bomb jammer does, is give you extra time, which is probably why that is no good.
Or just it's across at cross purposes. The choice you made earlier makes one part of this easier or the other.
Yes. One thing I really like is that there is a Marchenko who is here. Previously, if you had dug around, you can get his kill phrase, which unlocks the achievement Laputin machine, of course, because it's a reference to Gunter Hermann. There's also one of them on site, and at first it seems like it doesn't make sense, but they would have it here because they want to be able to shut down their ever-growing super mech.
Yeah,
the Illuminati doesn't want to just let this guy go free. So if you dig around enough, when you find the Illuminati, like, even though he is the leader of these double agents, he has people watching them. It's like that thing in Chernobyl.
Yeah,
like, if these people have been following me, like, and there's people following them. The guy behind me is following me, and there's somebody following him as well. Yeah, this is how it works. It's very similar to that. To me.
I got the kill phrase, I got the machine in Garm, but it is good that is here if you want it.
Yes, you can get it either or.
Yeah. So,
you're given a choice here that is not really. Again, I also like this. A choice. The previous choice that was binary of going to the bank or going to the bomb maker. You can only do one. Here, it's saying, listen, you only have enough time to do one of these two things, but really, if you're quick, you can do them both.
Yes. So you're about to order people to go, like, hey, go to the VIP room, stop them from doing this toast or whatever. The champagne's compromised, the orchid is in play. But as you're about to do that, you're the only person who could do that. Marchenko radio saying, "Oh, Jensen, it's a real shame that you did this. There is a plan B. If those people don't die, this is still going to happen." All like 2 city blocks around the convention center, all of the residential buildings are rigged to blow. If the VIPs do not die. So it's kind of up to you. Are you going to let these rich assholes, get poisoned and have, the right for the movement for Augs get set back like that? Or are you going to, let these people die like immediately? It's like a trolley problem,
or the greater good. Kind of thing. But you can do both.
Yeah. So,
especially if you have a way to shut down Marchenko, it's much faster.
Yes.
Than if you have to like fight him. You go to him and he's staying there. You have to sneak by these publicly guarded areas that you have to run to that are tricky. Like these are tough. They're tough guys and they're turrets and everything. You have to get past here.
Yeah.
When you get to him, you want to kill switch him. If you have it. And he says, like, you're like, I have your kill switch. You should just walk away. And he's like, I'm not going to. Like, I'm working for people who made a kill switch for me.
Yep.
Like, what does walk away mean in this situation?
Right.
I have a kill switch, my dude.
Yeah.
There's no walking away from this. There's 2 copies of it, and you're just a guy and you ran into 2 of them. That's fucked up. These things are common. The street date on these things has been violated.
Somebody broke embargo.
So you shut him down. You can also fight him if you want to, and it's very similar to the first boss fight in Deus Ex Human Revolution when it was revamped. When it was when it was revamped. Like, he does tons of damage. He's really tough, but you are using stealth and turning his security against him and stuff. It is a good boss fight if you like that boss fight.
Yes. I like having somebody's kill phrase. So
I'm never going to turn down a kill phrase. It's a very suboptimal way to play Deus Ex 1 where you get Anna Navarre's kill phrase, but I'll still do it because it's a kill phrase.
It's a kill phrase. Come on.
Yeah, that's great.
So he falls over dead. And the timer has started. Those people are about to take their toast or whatever. So I went loud getting to Marchenko, but I stealthed across to get to the VIP room because it seemed easier because you're going through like office. This is actually a pretty well represented convention center, actually.
Yeah. The other game had a penultimate scene in a convention center as well. Eidos Montreal has been to a lot of convention centers at shows. So, and we keep talking about this time limit. It's worth putting that a little bit into scale. I think it starts at 10 minutes.
Yeah, but there are modifiers depending on choices you made.
Yes. 10 minutes is plenty of time. Yes. In Mankind Divided time. So you get in and you yell at all the VIPs not to drink the champagne, which will kill them. And then that's the end of the game. It does end pretty abruptly there. Where Jensen has invited Alex over to watch his ending slides.
hey, Alex, my ending's starting. You want to come over?
Yeah, I imagine this is like graduation for a protagonist of one of these things. Like, do you want to come watch my ending slides with me? It'd be really meaningful for you to be there with me while I do it.
It'd be a pretty important kind of thing.
Yeah.
So she comes over and we're watching Picus, seeing these news bulletins about the terrorist attack. Either that was narrowly averted or, happened, depending on how your thing planned out. But regardless, it still ends kind of on the same note, which is Jensen and Alex are still in this position. The Illuminati is still out there. We need to go after them. We need to go after the puppet masters. But Jensen, he differs from Alex. He still feels like Janice is suspicious, right?
Yes.
For first order of business, we need to reveal who he really is.
Yeah. We get our ending slides, which kind of talks about quests and characters we've done based on the choices we made, but they are filtered through Picus. So there's a propaganda angle to them.
Yeah, the snarky asides that Eliza makes are so well observed.
Yeah. Eliza Kazan, the worst. And then we credits show and we get a post-credit scene of the Illuminati meeting discussing how the plan went sideways. We fucked up, but we'll come back. Everybody leaves except for Lucius De Beers and this woman who's there who we haven't seen before, who changes to be the psychologist, Dr. Azen. And she says Jensen's memories are still consistent with the program. It's only a matter of time before he reaches Janice. Yeah. So you're playing directly into their hands.
Right.
Which we know because of the curse of a prequel, like you can't defeat the Illuminati before Deus Ex 1, but the Illuminati is laid pretty low.
Yeah.
In the beginning of Deus Ex 1. Like, what if Jensen is the one who put Lucius De Beers in that cryo chamber?
Be pretty cool.
I'd really like to play the third game in this. But in fact, this is the end and I can't. So...
hope springs eternal. Who knows what Eidos Montreal is working on right now. It'd be neat. I would like to see this eventually brought to a close.
I really like this game. I think it plays really, really well. I think that it is. It's not, playing this back to back with Dishonored 2 is really interesting. Because there's subtle differences. Come through, and they're really tiny things that make big changes. Like this kind of stealth and this kind of take everybody out stealth articulates on whether you can stealth kill somebody once they've seen you.
Yes,
like in this game, somebody can turn a corner and you can still stealth them, and in Dishonored you can't. You have to be behind them. This version is a little bit more forgiving. I think out of this genre, this is one of the more forgiving games. In it. Somebody on Twitter was like, where do I start with this genre? It'd be weird to start here because the story will make no sense, but it's really empowering in terms of immersive sims, I think.
I like this an awful lot. The story, it doesn't bug me that it's unfinished, like whatever, it felt self-contained. It feels like a middle chapter, and that is fine. I don't know what a story that solves all these problems, in one game looks like. So I don't necessarily want to hold that against it. It's a triumph. Like the triumph is in the space, And also like, I'm cooler on Human Revolution than you are, I think that just mechanically is a little like, this feels like a, it's not just a story step toward, kind of the complexity and, expressiveness of the original Deus Ex, but also a mechanical step, towards something that feels a little bit more like that. I think that the improvements that they made, are subtle, but they, that's it's the effect isn't subtle. I think the effect, kind of, it has a huge span in this. They get a lot of juice out of their squeeze, and spaces in this, I mean, best in class. Like the only thing I would like put up like next to this is the space station from Prey, right?
Yeah,
but
which is also a great thing, but also feels a little bit more anonymous because, like, in Prey, a lot of those are functional areas.
Yeah,
the living quarters in Prey are miraculous, and that's really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but that's one part of the zone,
yeah. And like, and this is better because you're fighting people in it, not crazy space monsters.
Yeah,
right?
goo creatures. Yeah. I like this better than Human Revolution as well. Like, Human Revolution isn't one of my favorite games or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me not to give it tons of props because it was a franchise I really love that was dead for a really long time, and they managed to make something good.
Yeah, they had an impossible task, and I'm happy that they did it because it ultimately led to this.
Yeah,
yeah.
And there are moments of just like very good Deus Exing that happens in Human Revolution. Like, it's not like it's bereft of quality. I think that one of the popular narrative is always this plays better and the story is worse. I think I would probably agree with you that those people are probably overrating the story in Human Revolution.
Oh god, yeah. The story Human Revolution's a mess.
Yeah, it's not super good. Like, it's confusing story with world building and like setup. Yeah. Which is a really common thing to do. Yeah. But it's the first blush. It had to establish all that stuff of what this prequel world was going to be. And when that stuff was new and exciting, that was cool. Yeah. This being able to evolve on that, just sometimes I just think about praise for more of the same. Like, I talked about this a couple times recently, but like when a creator gets sick of something before I do, like I will take a new one of these every 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
That's not too frequent of an iteration to do this. And it doesn't have to, these minor improvements that make actually are really important, make the game a lot more fun. And they're not so common that I'm going to turn my nose up at any of them. I'm not going to get bored of this.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to our praise for BioShock 2, right?
Yes, exactly.
That is enough iteration for it to feel like it justifies itself. It doesn't need to be a whole new game every time, right? Like, don't do a cash grab or whatever, but that didn't feel like a cash grab. Like, it's fun to play. There's cool stuff there.
The spaces between them chronologically are just fucking nuts. Like, when people will be like, oh, it's just a cash grab, I'm like, that came out many years afterwards. And there's only 3 games in that series, since it's been out. Like, the idea, it's not Call of Duty. It's not an annualized series. There's a huge space between Mega Man on the NES and there being 2 new Deus Ex games in the last 10 years, night and day. Yeah, I very much I really like an evolution of a thing. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for going on this journey with me. I know it's a long episode and a long game.
Yeah, that's fun. It's a good game.
Speaking of not long games, if you have anything to say about this is long. Hit us up at Duckfeed.tv/contact. But if you have anything to say about Super Hot, which is an absolute snack, also write in. And if you have anything to say about Half-Life Alyx, it's gonna be the 15th of November. Duckfeed.tv/contact.
Yeah. And if you have thoughts, this is weird because we're recording this before that episode comes out. If you have thoughts about December's games, then you can write in by December 15th. December's games being, we're doing a 2-parter about Torment Tides of Numenera. We're doing a 2-parter about Shadowrun Hong Kong, and then for premium listeners, we're doing an arcade special. So if you have thoughts, fun stories from your youth about arcades or what have you, you can write in about those as well. Yeah, let's say that. And the deadline there is the 15th. As always, if you have thoughts about multiple games, please separate them into multiple responses.
Yes, yeah, we would appreciate that. Ordinarily, now would be the time where I did a highlight thing, but I know this is a long episode, but I'm going to take just 2 minutes real quick to talk about that because I want to make something clear for when people write in. Not slapping anybody's wrist, but several people, and I'm also not calling out anybody individual, several people have wrote in to ask us to highlight a project they really like, but they are not the creators of the project. I don't want to do that. I want enthusiastic consent for this thing because it's tricky material. So if you are a fan of a project by a marginalized creator, that's awesome. And feel free to say like, hey, if you're looking to get more eyes on your thing, write to these guys.
Yes.
But I don't want to do it on behalf of anybody. That feels icky to me.
Yeah. If the person, not everybody, wants a huge influx. Like, I love our audience, but like, if a person is not ready for like more people to see their independent game, or something like that, like I want them to understand and kind of volunteer and opt in to getting that.
Not our decision to make, and not another fan of their stuff.
Yes.
To make. So if you are making one of those things, if you're a non-straight, non-white, non-cis dude, and non-dude rather, and you're making a project and would like us to highlight it, please send me an email at Gary@Duckfeed.tv. If you are a fan of one of those projects and would like to see it here, you think our audience might like it or like them to have some more exposure, please reach out to them and encourage them to email.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that on behalf of anybody. Yeah. So no highlight this episode. That is why I've got several emails, but they're all that. And again, I'm not slapping anyone's wrist. It was nobody in particular. Got several of them. I just want to clarify that policy.
I understand the impulse, and it is admirable.
Yes, it is a good thing. You want to do a good thing. It's just, it was a blind spot for me. Like in my mind, I was like, why wouldn't somebody want exposure? That's how this game works. That's the industry. And then realizing, hearing from people like, every time, there's a real mixed bag when a bunch of new people learn about my thing, because there are assholes who are shitheads about it, or like, I'm just not there yet.
Yeah.
Or I don't feel comfortable with that for one reason or another. Not my call to make.
Yep.
So, that's just clarifying that. But the other thing you can do for us as well, segue, is go to patreon.com/duckfeed.tv. We got roughly the first quarter of 2023 planned, but we're still taking submissions for sponsorships for games. And you can even just doing it immediately get you a bunch of bonus episodes, including our Evil Within episode from a couple weeks ago, which I think is funny, and a bunch of other bonus shows.
Yes, tons of content there waiting for you, and it is only getting more full of content. It's been a while since we've done a segue, Gary.
I know. I had to pull out. We've been recording too long.
We have.
I had to. My brain had been broken because we've been recording for almost 4 hours, which has been a while since we've done that as well.
Yeah. Yes, in addition to Patreon, if you would like to leave us a rating or review in whichever podcast directory you found us, that does help us in ways that are hard to quantify but are real.
Yes.
We greatly appreciate that. Or you can tell friends and come back next week.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
We enjoy having you here. If you listen to this long episode, thanks.
Yeah. What should they watch out for until next time?
Watch out for baby Jensen. They could be popping out any moment now.
Oh my God. Can you imagine the marks that sharp beard would leave? Like, it's a hard birth on the mother, not because of augments, but because of absolutely douchey Lit style facial hair choices. You've given birth to a member of Lit.
Oh no, my own worst enemy. I'm really happy we both got there. That was fun.